Welcome in the Stiffs. Thank you very much to our sponsors for Series 2, Budgeon Motors. Been established for 40 years, best car dealership in Shropshire.
Debatable.
Well, we've all had cars from there. Gav, you been to Budgeon?
Yeah, a few times now.
Dave, too big time. He only wants Teslas, doesn't he?
But to be fair though, they do Teslas, do any car. You want a car, they get your car.
I just spoke to them, they are fast, to be fair.
Dave's
backed them. You know they're good when Dave's on side with them.
I've been offered 20%.
Have we sorted out the discount? Come down to Budgeon, mentioning the Stiffs, and what we'll have to sort out. What's that discount?
Yeah, about 90%.
Yeah, we'll have
just
to
don't
sort
tell
that.
the MD.
That'll have to be sorted out at the showroom.
Yeah, to be confirmed, that one.
Yeah. We like to think that we're life coaches now, don't we, lads?
Got to experience the food, whereas you have like Chinese's and chip shops in the same shop, which I thought was a bit weird. Coming from Birmingham, I've never seen it before.
He comes for a cross.
When he comes across, you get out of the way. It's just Keems.
I was with him at Sunderland when he was on the drink.
I had a bit of a set to with Paul Ince, which probably could have helped it, really.
What happened at Game Meadow? Tough place to play. We've all had a stinker at Game Meadow.
I've had more than a few.
Like a few nights out, what was the culture like?
We had a great group, man. Yeah, it was great. Especially going up to the Championship. We're not going to get a better drinking partner than him. You know what I mean?
I've never been out in Wolverhampton, I haven't.
What?
You might have done as a kid.
You could get the lads in Spearmint Rhinos, is that what we're saying?
Spearmint's quite tough to get into, actually.
Can you boys not touch alcohol till you're 45?
Did you live in Middlesbrough?
Yeah.
How did you find him anyway?
Yeah, maybe not as good as you.
All of a sudden, Keems walks in from the other side. Doc, can you have a quick look at this one?
It's weird. I knew something wasn't quite right with me, though. I don't know why. I never thought it was anything major. I can't remember him actually saying that you've got cancer. It was just a tough moment, them first few day or two.
This fridge with just full of chopped fruit, and you was like, I'm not eating any hospital food. And you say, I'm only eating things which I know are going to help fight this.
Where are you with your health at the moment then? Oh.
Yeah, I feel great, mate, yeah.
The main image of Carl at Compton Training Ground was 2 bags of ice on his knees.
I'm known for that.
You can be too polished, can't you? I always worry about being too polished. Welcome to another episode of In the Stiffs. Thanks very much for all the listeners. We are bringing you another top guest. As always, we're not just good footballers, but good people who have stories to tell. We like to think that we're life coaches now, don't we, lads?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. Helped a lot of people on this podcast.
We have. Gav, introduce our guest, please.
Yeah, our guest this week has made 271 professional appearances, representing the Mighty Hoops, QPR, Middlesbrough, Leicester City, Sheffield United, Doncaster Rovers, Charlton Athletic, Accrington Stanley, Stockport County, and most remembered for his time at Wolverhampton Wanderers, where he became a club legend. Not forgetting playing international football with Nigeria. Wow. We're delighted to welcome to the podcast the one and only Carl Ikeme.
That was a nice intro, man. You got
that was my radio voice.
You got lost a little bit on the clubs, didn't you?
Yeah.
Had to take a breather.
Dave wrote it down for you as well. I should keep doing them because I normally do them, but we thought we'd mix it up.
It was fluent, but there's 700 clubs there. So
that was a lot of clubs there.
But you're actually, Keems, a one-club man, aren't you? Yeah. Really? You've only ever signed for one club, I should say.
Yeah, theoretically, yeah. I had a lot of loan spells, especially as a younger adult, really. And yeah, it was an experience at the time. It was tough at moments. There's just times where, like, no disrespect to Accrington and stuff like that, it's not the best place to stay. Like on Accrington High Street in a bed.
We do have a lot of listeners in Accrington.
Yeah. So Accrington's not a good night out. Is that what you're telling us?
I didn't get to experience a night out. I got to experience the food, whereas you have like Chinese's and chip shops in the same shop, which I thought was a bit weird. Coming from Birmingham, I've never seen it before. But that was my cuisine on a Friday night before the game. So it was a valuable experience at the time. In all honesty, I made my first sort of adult appearance there. I remember Alder Shut Away. It's a game I'll never forget because we had a long journey down, and obviously when you're at Wolves and stuff, you get everything done for you. So I got to the game, and sort of my kit was laid out, but there was no like sloggies or nothing like that.
So it's a lot of sloggies for the listeners. They're like pants, aren't they?
Pants, slips. Yeah, slips.
Help keep everything in.
Yeah, so there was none there, so I had to make a decision whether I wear my pants that I've got on, or I needed some pants to not wear any pants.
Yeah,
and have nothing to wear back home. So it was kind of, what do I do? So
tough decision.
I just thought I won't wear them. Like, I'd be good. First minute of the game, crunch and tackle right down my ball bag. It was horrific, man.
Why haven't we have any sloggies at this club? Where's the sloggies?
Everything just hanging loose.
I'm not going there again.
The game, hanging loose. Like I was in mad pain. Got in at half time, and then I had to ask anyone if they had any sluggies because it was just in too much pain. So someone gave me their dirty ones. I had to put them on just to get through the game. So it was my
welcome to the football
some
league.
young lad, you're another young lad. Just get your sluggies off. I'll have them. I'll wear them second off.
Yeah, so it was a proper welcome to men's football. And it put me in good stead, I suppose, in the future. And it was only a 4-week loan, but interesting to say the least.
But you started at Wolves, obviously. So what age did you sign there? Had you always been a goalkeeper?
No, I was at Villa when I was probably about 10, 11 in goal. I'd always flirted with playing outfield, but I was always better in goal for my Sunday League team. So,
was you a Villa fan? Wolves fan?
Yeah, I was a Villa fan as a kid.
Decent outfield player.
I was all right, yeah. I felt like I was all right anyway. But I was pretty quick as a kid, so you've got half a chance if you've got a bit of speed anyway. So I used to play up front for like Sunday League, and I always used to play out when we was just playing Wembley and around the park and that. So, but I was always better in goal. So for Sunday League, I'd always get chucked in goal, and especially for the big games, I'd always get put in goal. So I kind of got spotted by Villa when I was 10, 11. I kind of went there probably for about 2 years, and then just didn't really enjoy it. I supported Villa as a younger kid, but I was sort of getting to 12, 13, and I wasn't really that bothered about Villa anymore. But my dad was a mad Villa fan, so he wasn't pressuring me, but I just didn't want to let my dad down at the same time, so I kind of just kept on going for a little bit. And then I remember just saying to my mum, I don't want to go back there now. I don't like it, I don't enjoy it, I just want to play football with my mates. Went back, played outfield for my Sunday League team for a little bit, and then my mate had a trial at Wolves, so he went to have the trial, and they were looking for goalkeepers at the time, so he was like, oh, my mate's a goalkeeper, he'd probably just give a bit of a backstory on me, so I just put some gloves on and took the trial, and then been at Wolves ever since.
That's mad, that, isn't it?
Were you like a superstar when you were a kid? Like, were you like thinking everybody going, this kid's going to be amazing?
No, definitely not that, no.
Just worked hard and stuff.
So, yeah, well, from 14, I started coming to Wolves, so I never really had goalkeeper training. I remember not too sure if I was going to get my apprentice at the time.
Yeah.
I thought that the other lad, Dean Cowan, was pretty good as well, and he'd been teach with the goalkeeper coach and stuff like that, so he might have been technically a little bit better than me. So I always was touch and go, I thought, and the way that training was set up as well, I couldn't make the days when there were goalkeeping sessions. Because my friend was giving me a lift to Birmingham, from Birmingham, and then when he got released, like, we couldn't afford to come 3 times a week, so I had to pick the days where I could come, and it'd always be with the team. So I never had any sort of technical goalkeeping until I was 16, and kind of took a little bit of time to get going. But I suppose what I did have was I could make a save, and I could come for a cross, and I was brave. So I was doing actually well in the games, but in the training sessions it was difficult because technically I wasn't quite the best.
He says comes for a cross when he was fully grown at Wolves, mate.
When he comes for a cross,
you get out of the way. It's just Keems, and you just duck. You just wait for it to clean you out.
And you're taking the lot. You're taking your defenders the lot. It's like that.
It is class, though.
Clear out the women and children.
There's nothing better as a defender when you've got your goalkeeper doing that. Yeah. And he just screams and you just think, right, get out the way, try and protect.
And the strikers are the same as well. Attacking, they're like, nah, I don't fancy that.
That old jump one with the knee up as well, isn't it? The knee up, just taking out everyone, never getting a free kick against you, just hurt anybody.
I enjoy taking crosses more than making saves. It was weird. Wow. Like just the feeling of coming for a cross, because it takes a bit of bravery and that to come for a cross. And
I think the crowd appreciate that as well, not just players on the. I think the crowd, when they see a keeper come and get a difficult cross, they get you get a good applause for that, don't you?
It's a great thing, though. I mean, obviously, I'm not a goalkeeping expert or anything, obviously, but like, always stand on the line sometimes, and you think, just come on, come and clear.
You're putting yourself at risk, aren't you? As soon as you come for a cross, you're opening yourself up to a mistake, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's kind of when you kind of talk about mistakes and that, and I may have plenty of them, don't right? But like if he didn't come for a cross that he should have, that was a mistake to me anyway. They're all mistakes, and you all end up in the same result.
We've all played with a lot of liners, we call them, don't they? The ones who don't like to go, mine, yours, away.
Most of the arguments on the pitch as a defender is turning around to the keeper saying, any danger?
I said that a few times.
It just alleviates pressure, doesn't it? Like, it's high risk. So I think that's why crowd appreciate, because it's high risk to come and do that, isn't it? And then it alleviates pressure and everyone's buzzing. So
what was it like being a young lad at Wolves? Like, you had some big characters at the time. Coming through is harder to get. I think even as well, Carl, is it hard being a keeper because you do get stuck in, like you getting goal, we're doing shooting, getting goal, we're doing shooting practice, and some big characters there, were there?
Yeah, well, it was brilliant to be honest from 16 to 18, especially. So we've kind of come in, sort of just left school and straight into football, which I only started to appreciate it later in life. That I just left school probably in June, and then a couple of weeks later, I'm in football every day. Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah. So sort of pre-season was solid, man. Like at Bagridge Park, we started, which is kind of a park in Wolverhampton. It was deadly. They wouldn't do it now. Yeah. But sort of started doing that, and we had like a mad mix of people in the change room. So we had like the English lads, the Irish lads, just a mixture of different characters and stuff like that. We all used to get changed at the Molyneux and get a minibus down to the training ground. So it was interesting.
Who was in there at that time then? Who would have been?
Leon Clark, Sammy Klingon, who had a good career. Padjo is another. He's a legend down. He's a legend between the sort of YTS boys who would know Padjo. He's a top guy. There's quite a few. Keith Lowe.
They've always had a good academy, wasn't they? Lads who made it through.
Had some good players. Ashley Vincent, Lewis Goldburn. Anyone else?
Keith Lowe just finished up at Kidderminster, hasn't he? He's forged a good career.
Strange one with Keith because we had a lad called Michael Townsend who was sort of fit, strong, like looked like he'd been doing weights since he was 6. Like he's that sort of guy. And Keith was kind of maybe overlooked, really. Keith was the first one to actually make his debut at the lot of us, and we never expected him. We had another left back, Luke Bradley, who was the sort of wonder boy really at the time, and we was all thinking made it 1,000,000%. And it was weird how Keith came through first. Like he probably, I'm sure he'd say it himself. Like, and he probably wasn't tipped to do it at 15, 16, but he ended up playing first team football before the lot of us, really. So he's ended up having a great career playing football. I don't know how many games he's played, but I bet he's played a lot.
But doing that, you get your picture up on the halls at Compton, the training ground hall. So you walk down the corridor at Compton, and lining each wall is pictures of all the academy players who have played for the first team. It's really nice, isn't it? It's just so if you can get your picture on the wall. I remember seeing
inspirational, isn't it, for the kids to see that can happen.
It was good. Yeah, we had Chris Evans at the time. It was a bit Marmite with some people, but like he was wicked for the academy because he'd be pushing guys to play. So he'd go up to the chief exec, Jez Moxie at the time, and then he'd start arguing about bringing players in. He's like, "No, you've got someone in the academy. Take them." And it really, we had a lot of players through the academy, especially from that period of time. I think we still have had produced players all along, but we have had, I think especially then, I was thinking Kev O'Connor, a lot of us ended up making our debuts, really.
What about the first team though? At that point, you sort of progressed through the youth team, but as a goalkeeper, you probably train more with the first team than most at that point because they need keepers and things like that. So who was
the young lad in goal for shooting practice?
Yeah, so it was he's like Paul Ince, Lescott, Colin Cameron, Mark Kennedy.
That's a experienced, tough dressing room, that, isn't it?
Yes, it was tough, man. Alex Ray, Butler.
Paul Butler,
yeah, tough man.
I played with Paul Butler and Alex Ray, and they were good lads. Obviously, that was Alex Ray. That was all. That was post everything, wasn't it? Where he was off the drink. Then he was. I was with him at Sunderland when he was on the drink.
Dennis Irwin. There's some big players. So it was tough because I was actually, I think it was 7. I was on the bench for the first team. I think it was 17. I'm not sure it was my first year at the club. But
did they get promoted the first year you was there?
Got promoted
to the Premier League.
I don't know if that got promoted first or second year I was there. Yeah. And I was with the first team a lot when they got promoted because I think Matt Murray got injured. And then I think I was on the bench for 7 or 8 games, so I had a lot of time with them. Yeah, a lot of the sort of small-sided games. It was tough, man.
Did they look after you or not?
No. Because technically, as I said before, I wasn't the best. So if you put one top corner, I might pick it, might tip it out. But if you hit it at me, it'd probably go through me. Yeah. So obviously, I was making a lot of mistakes. And when you got sort of the likes of Paul Ince, Colin Cameron, Alex Ray, Kent Sparky. It was tough. Do you know what I mean? They were on you, man. They were on you.
Well, we've had this discussion with a lot of our guests, haven't we, around that sort of that blooding when you come through. About we've spoken to the likes of obviously Conor Cody, who's at Liverpool, and then we spoke to who did we speak to? Who didn't actually have that. They didn't actually have that YTS. They sort of come through, and you obviously keen and probably agree with what we agree with, that although it probably wasn't the nicest at the time, and you've got these lads who are trying to build your character, it makes you a man, doesn't it?
It does, you know. You have to.
You've got no choice, have you?
Yeah, you've got no choice, and you've got no choice to kind of get back up and go again, because I think you might say it's a bit different for outfield players. You still make mistakes, but you can kind of get away with it. As a goalkeeper, like, there's no hiding really. Like, and I had to go back again the next day and face it again, and it was tough. But in the end, I think I ended up getting respect from a lot of the sort of older pros. In the end, it took a bit of time, but they ended up helping me a lot.
Why do you think they took the time to do that then?
I'm not sure, you know. I had a bit of a set to with Paul Ince, which probably could have helped it, really.
Well, talk us through that then.
So another day, I don't know if it was my fault or someone else's fault. I think I thought it was someone else's fault this time, and then Ince was on me again. So at the time, I just thought I wouldn't let no one speak to me outside of football like this, so I'm not going to let it happen here. So then it kind of, Ince started having a go at me, and I just thought, oh, fuck this. So I just took.
You're a big lad as well. Right?
It's going to say you're not the smallest, yeah.
I sort of just took my.
But still, though, to Paul Ince, like,
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, standing your ground to someone.
So I just took my gloves off and kind of just.
Let's have it.
I said, "Who are you talking to?" Like, and kind of just had a bit of a set to, kind of, and then probably the best thing I'd done, to be honest, because after that he's helped me ever since my career. I think maybe I got his actual respect from then. I think if I just done it to start off with, you know, I've seen lads do it as we be older, and you just think, come on, son, like, don't do it now. Like, just bide your time, and bid enough time. Had enough rollickings and bollickings.
So you've done your normal
even
bit
after Dave Jones, like, and that's another story where I took a cup of tea into that. We used to have a gym at the stadium where the away dressing room is, where I think they changed it to mixed office or whatever. We used to have a gym there, and I remember taking a cup of tea into there, and then Dave Jones absolutely roasted me. I was only 16, like, roasted me. And I remember getting also with Dave Jones. I remember starting to play, and then I got a pro deal. I think it was about 17, 18. And then I think it was like 3 years. And he said, Ikeme said, congratulations, but I'd only give you a year.
Shut you down. You're buzzing, confident.
So
and it's to keep your feet on the ground, though, isn't it? Like,
and arguably that doesn't happen a lot now, does it? A lot of the time, you know, they're getting 4 or 5 year deals, and, you know, they're getting the bellies tickled from quite a lot. And I know it's not like across the board, but I think back in those days, it was like you rightly say there, we talk a lot about resilience on this podcast, and you've got no alternative. You've actually, you sink or swim, don't you? And I think that can sort of mould you as a player as well.
Definitely. I think for me, I think because technically I was a little bit behind, and sort of having these experiences of, I weren't doing particularly well in training with the first team, but I was doing really well in my actual games. And it was just the fact of I need to try and do something. Like, I can't rush it any more than it's doing. I'm training every day with Bobby Mims. Bobby Mims is brilliant as well. And it kind of got to a point where I think I was about 17, 18, and I think Michael Oakes was there. Paul Jones might have been there. Obviously Matt Murray was there. I think we might have had 1 or 2 keepers on loan, kind of, when there's a few injuries. And I just thought, okay, I don't know. I looked at everyone. I thought, well, I can't match you technically, so I'm going to have to try and match you physically. So I ended up just being a sort of gym rat, running aimlessly around my park, but I'd just keep running until I couldn't run no more. And it was just sort of a fact where I just sort of mind framed just to think, you know, I've got to do something. And I kind of remember it got to a stage. I remember Oaksy saying to me, technically he was still better than me, but he's just like, physically I can't keep up with you anymore. Yeah. He was obviously getting to a sort of early 30s, and I kind of thought, well, I've got to start to kick on a little bit now.
What a brilliant thing to say from a senior goalkeeper, to give you that encouragement to say, like, you know, you're doing everything you can here. Yeah. You're going to get ahead of me in this area.
Oaksy was brilliant, man. He was like technically really good. Technically probably better out of all of us. He's a little bit smaller. Yeah. He was another one who really helped me technically. I was sort of saying to him, I was speaking to him, trying to teach my little girl to play tennis the other day. And I was just telling her to swing. As I say it if you want. Say it as you're coming in. I remember Oaksy saying, like, when the ball comes at you, just say catch. And then I just ended up saying it. The ball just ended up sticking a little bit more. So, you know, just little things like that kind of helped me. And then Matt Murray was a massive help for me, really, sort of throughout my whole career. He was someone that I kind of really looked up to at the time. So I had some great keepers to kind of be around. And
great calibre of keeper. Michael Oakes, Paul Jones.
Good characters, though, as well, aren't they? Good people.
We had Wayne Hennessy, a year younger than me as well. So we had some really keepers and run on as well to probably be the best out of the lot of us, probably.
Yeah. Wow. So you're with the first team a lot, Keems. Obviously, in and around it in training, get yourself on the bench, but not really enough for you. You needed to get out, didn't you, and kickstart your career, and you go off to obviously have loan moves at the likes of Accrington and Stockport, like you've said. How did that differ? I know you've touched on it slightly, and we've spoken about the sloggies and getting smashed in the balls and that. Yeah. But and again, we've spoken about your apprenticeship and your becoming a man through Wolves. How did that affect you? How did that sort of affect your game, your character? Did you come back stronger?
Yeah, I didn't. The Stockport one didn't go particularly well. For a number of reasons, so we just touched on one to sort of telling me about the Shrewsbury days where
what happened at Game Meadow. Tough place to play. We've all had a stinker at Game Meadow.
I've had more than a few.
Tough place to go, which I learned. So sort of last minute kind of tried to roll the ball out so I could just kick it out. Obviously didn't check behind me and then kind of come round, and I can't remember if it was we lost the game or drew it.
It was an equaliser, I think. 90-minute equaliser.
Yeah, Jackson, wasn't it? I think he was on loan from Preston.
Yeah,
he was a young lad on loan from Preston, come off the bench.
And obviously, then the guys couldn't come around me, and then ended up scoring last minute. So it was a sickener and a sort of bad lesson to kind of learn. But it was tough in Stockport. Actually, I liked being in Stockport. I didn't mind being up there. I think I played maybe 10, 11 games, but it was
still a young kid though. This is still
it's probably about. Say 19, 18.
Hard that for keeper though, isn't it? Because people I remember, you don't like the young lads in goal, do you? Because you like an experienced person, don't you? Who's calm, and young lads, they're erratic, aren't they?
It must have had some recommendation there though, Keems, because like Sam says there, at 18, 19, as a manager of a football club of the stature of Stockport, he's taking a massive risk there. I mean, for you, it's a win-win because you can go there, make mistakes, you can do everything that you need to do to make sure your goal is to get into the first team at Wolves. But for Stockport, that you've got to come with some recommendation for them to go with.
It's not a wing like a winger, is it? You have a winger, don't you? Exactly. You have a winger, left 89-year-old, you play him, you don't play him, you bring him on for half an hour. You go with your keeper, like you're playing your keeper as an 18-year-old. It's a big thing.
Yeah, it was, I think maybe Bobby Mims was brilliant. I suppose he had something to do with it. I think it was Chris Turner, I think was the manager as well. He was a former goalkeeper. So it was a good experience for me, don't get me wrong, looking at, but probably didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go, and I hoped it would have went. And in the end, to be honest, I was relieved to get back to Wolves. I ended up breaking my hand, and I just after that.
How'd you break your hand?
I was going to say, are we allowed to talk about that? Or
that was football related. I think I came for a cross and went into back of someone's head, and I think that's kind of broke my finger. That's it's a bit. So I had to go back to Wolves, and I think it was at that moment.
Was the medical treatment not great up in Stockport then?
That was all right, it weren't too bad, mate. I've had worse, but
you've obviously gone there, and then you come back to Wolves. I suppose it makes you appreciate your surroundings and that you want it more.
Yeah, I never took it for granted to be honest at Wolves at any point, but I think after Stockport, I just thought I never want to go back there.
No offence to Stockport, shit.
What a club Stockport County is.
He's actually a great club. He's a big club. I think it just got relegated from Championship to League 2 at the time, so it was a huge club. But I just weren't disrespectful. Yeah, just Wolves are obviously Championship Prem, and I just thought I want to do everything I can to make sure that I never come back. Just kind of kicked on another level. We've all probably had it where you just thought, I need to go again now. You are doing your best and you are giving everything, but you always find another gear to kind of go again. And so after that, I think I might have got my break at Wolves then.
Your first break at Wolves was it the 08-09 season where we got promoted to?
Oh, yeah, we go.
The Premier League.
Yeah. You said that twice.
All Dave talks about.
Always finds an angle.
He talks about Euro 2016, doesn't he? Because I don't know whether you heard, but he played a couple of games for Wales in the 08-09 season. But that was a big season then. That was the one, wasn't it?
I think,
What was that like?
I think that was. I think I'm not too sure if I went on loan after Stockport, but I think I ended up getting in the team, and I think Wayne got sent off. I think
Preston, wasn't it?
Yeah, and ended up played Bristol City at home. We won 2-0. Ended up playing well, really well actually, and that just gave me the belief that I could play. I think I did come on before that in. This was a great time to come on. We were winning 1-0 against Luton. Came on about 85th minute.
Oh no! It's
bad enough as a defender, but goalkeeper.
Whipping balls under the
bar. At home, was it?
How old are you at this point?
I'm going to say maybe not 19-ish, 20, 19, 20 maybe. So I started whipping balls, but I did that. I think I came for 2 crosses actually. Got a bit lucky with the one, but you need a bit of luck anyway. Yeah. But this sort of my first run in the team, and I think after playing the game against Bristol City, I kind of believed that I could do it then.
Yeah.
And I'd been on loan, and I think I played a few cup matches, but they're just not the same as the league. And I ended up playing, I'm not too sure how many games, maybe 10
So
20,
Mick
12,
McCarthy's manager at this point. Did you feel like he had an influence on you, that he gave you that sort of sense of belief that I'm not just a kid anymore, I'm a man, almost?
Yeah, I don't know if Mick...
He's a different goalkeeper coach at this point, wasn't it? Pat Mainton came in.
Yeah, I think Mick showed belief in me, definitely, and he obviously gave me my full league debut and that. I don't know if he ever... And my only gripe with Mick ever is that I never felt like he actually treated me like a man. I felt like he always seen me as an academy graduate. And that.
He treated you differently, you reckon?
Not differently in general, but I think it might have just been Mick's thing anyway. It was very kind of his way or the highway, which is fine. And I never had no problem with that. I think sometimes I couldn't really have a conversation with Mick, 'cause I think he still seen me as a young boy.
I think you get that in football, don't you? When you come through an academy, it's hard to break out of that mould, isn't it?
I think everybody always gets that. Like, you probably get paid less, don't you, a lot of the time definitely, as well, and you feel a bit like
you always feel like you want one or two contracts behind where
you
you
always
should be.
think, like, hold on a minute, I'm playing the same as him, but because he's signed for money, and he's now on more money.
There's a friend of mine, I've got to go unnamed, but I always remember he was a year above me.
Just name him.
Can't do it. But yeah, I mean, he was offered like 250 quid a week to become a pro, but then without the digs that he enjoyed as a YT. So he was like, well, how am I going to live? And they were like, you'll just take it because it's you. And, we can obviously lean on, we can mistake your kindness for weakness. And then I think he signed for another club that ended up being about 900 quid a week. And they couldn't believe it. And he was like, I can't believe this club are going to pay me this. But because they saw the value from the outside, so it's probably a similar situation.
I don't think Mick sort of financially seen me as that. I think he believed in me. I think that's one thing I will say. I think he did genuinely believe in me. And he gave me the belief to say that I can play. I remember playing at Norwich, and I think I made a mistake in that game, but I actually played really well. It was weird. It's the best warm-up I've ever had in my life. I'll never forget it. Everything stuck. I couldn't do no wrong in the warm-up, and then I ended up pulling one out the top corner to start off with.
Is that when we got battered down at Norwich? We lost 5-2 or something, wasn't it?
I think I made a hiccup in that game, and then I remember him saying to me after, "How do you think you've done?" I was like, not the best." He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, you made a mistake, but apart from that, you were brilliant." And I was just like,
Brilliant, loved that.
He really, I think he did. Mick obviously seen something in me, and he weren't scared to drop Wayne as well, because Wayne had been doing really well, and he did drop Wayne in the end. So he kind of gave me the belief to say that I play. And I remember speaking to Matt after a point a bit later in life. I think Matt was kind of under contract, and he weren't too sure whether, obviously just playing the game with sort of negotiations, and I think Mick pulled him to say, tell me if you're going to sign, because I'll just put Carl in. Yeah, so I think he did believe me. Just my only one gripe with Mick, which has done a lot more for me than one gripe, and I think everyone's got a gripe with every manager who'd ever played for. Is that I don't think he's seen me as the man, but I think when Styler, and I suppose I was young enough to a degree, but when Styler came in, Solbakken and Kenny and that, I think I got treated as a man. I suppose I was 25, 26, a little bit older, but kind of felt that I could have had maybe some of these conversations with Mick when I was 21, because we wasn't in his office a lot, but I think I had points where I was in his office with, I remember he might have thought I was a nuisance, to be honest, at times when I was a little bit younger, because I was struggling to get fit as well at a stage, and I remember kind of not being happy with some of the treatment that I was given at the time.
Would you speak out about that? If you thought something was unfair, would you go and speak to the gaffer?
No, I wasn't mouthy or anything like that. I was quite quiet, and I kind of got on with everyone. But I think at the time I just couldn't get fit. I'd been out for like nearly 9 months with various injuries, and kind of remembered the physio at the time, a lovely guy, but he just couldn't get me fit, and I always wanted to play it ultimately. I think Mick did the right thing, because I suppose if you're having some young guy come in and say, like, listen, I'm not happy with my treatment. I've been out for eight or 9 months. I don't think this guy can get me fit. I keep going in and breaking down. I suppose he's his staff. In his mind, it's his staff, so he's obviously told me to do one.
It's your fault, get yourself.
But eventually he did actually put me with the academy, give me and Lewis Goburn, because Lewis was in the same situation. He couldn't get fit. He gave me and Lewis the academy physio. So just took the academy's physio off him and just give me and Lewis the physio, and we ended up kind of getting fit. So I don't know if that was maybe something in the back of his mind. And obviously we always had conversations at the start of a season when I felt like I was really flying and kind of ready to play, and then we kind of have another goalkeeper come in who was more experienced, but I'm just kind of looking, going off training, thinking, I don't care if he's got more experience. Like, I feel like
were you confident like that? You were like,
I wasn't actually that confident, but I kind of knew what I was seeing at the same time. And I had the confidence to become competitive. I'm like any keeper who's against me, I'm competitive with him. Obviously, I think I can play. He thinks he can play. Only one of us can be right. And
it's a hard relationship, isn't it, with the other keepers, isn't it? Like, it's different than any other position. That it's either you or him is playing on the Saturday.
Yeah, it's different. I think maybe me and Wayne, because we were similar age and came through, maybe it was a bit more competitive, really. But we had
every time Wayne lets one in, he shit he is.
Nah. Wayne's a good lad, and
I suppose though as well, when you see a goalkeeper make a mistake, as much as it might give you an opportunity, you know what that feeling is like.
Horrible feeling. You don't wish it upon anyone. Yeah. So I'd always had a few difficult discussions with Mick at the start of the season, because he'd kind of tell me, well, you've been really good pre-season, but you're not in the squad. Yeah. And then I'd be on loan again. So I think that's probably why I had so many loans. But in the end, in all honesty, it done me good. And in the long run, it definitely done me good, because it kind of, sort of when I was getting a bit older and I was speaking to other goalkeepers that were kind of coming through, and I was saying the clubs that I kind of went on loan to, it was unreal, really. I had like Leicester, QPR, Middlesbrough, some Charlton, some great clubs. Really.
Amazing clubs to go on loan
at sort of a young, early 20s, like any of the other keepers that were kind of coming through in sort of 18 to 23-year-old category at the time would have snapped anyone's hand to be up at them clubs. So I was grateful, and it did help in the long run. So
were you disappointed that you didn't get an opportunity? Obviously, you got promoted to the Premier League, and we were there for 3 years. And you said then you went out on loan to huge football clubs. You went out on loan to, but you never got a chance. You played in the Premier League, didn't you? But it was right at the end.
Right at the end, yeah. Yeah, I was disappointed. I think it go back to kind of my fear was we've had kind of various keepers, and sort of even Marcus Hanneman, like goalkeeper. I'm not saying he wasn't, but kind of body in training, and he wouldn't do nothing. He wouldn't dive until after 11. So you're
thinking I can play. Yeah, so I'm good enough.
That was funny. That was funny. Marcus, you remember the American Marcus Hanneman?
You mentioned him before, haven't you? But I can't remember him.
He was. How old was he? Like sort of.
Yeah, like, probably mid to late 30. He might not have been as old as we thought at the time, because we were like younger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But we wouldn't do a five-a-side until after 11 o'clock, because he would refuse to dive before 11. He said he used to count. He said, I've got 150 dives left in me, and then he started counting them down. I'm not using them before 11 o'clock.
I'm saving them. Saving them for a big save.
He used to go over me, and it used to go in
all the time.
Why? No.
Yeah, but it did used to turn it on in the games, to be honest. But I think me seeing kind of us training together, and obviously we are close as a unit. He obviously did have a kind of experience, but kind of seeing, and I'm thinking, I can play, man. I want to play, and sort of there were the sort of tough times where I just thought me and Wayne had been quite close with each other. Wayne kind of kicked on, and I just wanted my opportunity, really.
With that group then, Keems, obviously you said you had a good relationship with the keepers, but what was it like with all of the players? Like, did you have a good group that year? Was there like a few nights out? What was the culture like?
We had a great group, man. Yeah, it was great, especially going up to the championship. I think we had sort of Sylvan, Kev Foley, Neil Collins, Daki was on loan for a little bit.
That's a proper,
Richard Steeman, Michael Kitely, Matt
so there's people like a beer and all that and everything as well.
I think it was more. We were all the same age, weren't we? We were apart from Jody Craddock, we were all 22, 23, weren't we? Young lads.
Yeah, and a lot of us, I think, we'd not come from the top. I think we came from the bottom, and I know I kind of came through walls, but I wasn't the person who was supposed to make it, so I kind of felt like that same sort of hunger. So we was all kind of hungry, like kind of young, and
work hard, play hard.
I wouldn't say it was excessive, or maybe it's excessive for nowadays. Probably excessive.
Nowadays it did.
It did spill over a bit, but it was good fun. Yeah, you had Hunty. I remember Hunty was a great lad as well.
Stephen Hunt.
So really close with now. He's probably not going to get a better drinking partner than him. You know what I mean? You'll see anyone through, and kind of had some great nights out.
It's great for us because obviously we'd usually go out in Birmingham, wouldn't we? Yeah. Wolverhampton's not renowned for its nightlife.
The Wolves lads wouldn't go out on Wolves. They'd go
no, never. I've never been out in Wolverhampton. I haven't.
What?
You might have done as a kid, but I never did.
Because maybe 16, 17-year-old, but not.
So 10 years, you didn't go out on Wolves?
I've still never been out in Wolves, but No one really wanted to come back to Shrewsbury either. So
that's offensive to our Shrewsbury.
But everyone, we always went out to Birmingham. And obviously, Keems is a local lad from Birmingham. And he used to sort the night.
Did you sort it out,
lockdown, mate?
You were the man, Keems.
There should be a little nod at the door.
You stick with Keems. Any bother, any little bits of bother. Like, where's Keems? Your Keems are shouting. I'm a little bit of bother. Yeah, Keems,
you're that man.
Keems.
You're that man.
I was like his shadow on a night.
It was like.
I'm with Keems. I'm with Keems.
I was. Partied a little bit. I had a bit of fun and. Kind of, I wouldn't say I took everyone by the wing or anything like that, but I was just local and I don't think anyone was local. Yeah, I don't think anyone was as local.
You could get the lads in Spearmint Rhinos, is that what we're saying?
Spearmint was quite tough to get into, actually.
Legs 11 or something.
Anyway, down the Arcadia, I could sort out. We had some fun nights. I remember me and Silva had a right go for probably about 2-3 months. We was at it probably every other weekend or whatever. We had our own section.
Well,
we didn't book it, but if we turned up,
you can't sit there.
You can't sit there, mate. That's Keens and Silver. That's our spot.
It was just too much, mate, to be honest. But we had some fun, and I was just sort of thinking about tours that we've done in Scotland and Ireland. I can't remember
pre-season trips.
Out.
You mentioned this, David, about
is this on the mic? Is this
on the mic? You always used to take us to Ireland, didn't he?
Always.
Do you remember I told these boys about when Fletch jumped out of our... Was you there when Fletch jumped out of our window?
Was that Solback on that was, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, under Solback, and that was later on, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember Fletch jumped out the window and we just all walked down the stairs.
Yeah.
I was like, Fletch, what are you doing?
It's brilliant though. We used to...
Is that Steve Fletcher?
Yeah, so on like one of the last nights, Mick would say, we can go out for some drinks, but there's a curfew, but we'd be on the bus on the way back and somebody would just text Mick, wouldn't they? Say, can we stay out? And then he would just...
He must love it though.
He would just turn around and he'd be like, right, you can have till 1 o'clock.
Because he loves it as well.
Of course he does.
He loves it.
The boys would come back to the hotel at 1, show their face, and then straight out through the fire exit, back out.
Back after
taxis lined up.
Tell the taxi driver, keep it running, mate. Keep it running. I'm just going to clock in with a gaffer. Yeah.
Who says footballers aren't clever, right? That's very strategic.
There was like a terrorist cell, wasn't there? I think it was like me, Edo Steers, Sylvan, and then maybe a couple more as well. So we just kind of have a word and just plan our escape out. Maybe someone's window, and then we'd be gone. Yeah, so we'd always find a way. I remember I think it was in Scotland the one year. I can't remember if we went through. Might have been Looms' window.
Loom, he was a mess. Remember that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Big Chris Alumo.
Yeah. Oh right, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
It was his first trip with us on it.
And I think I remember sneaking out, but he got caught going in because he was just that messy. I think.
Yeah,
he was just that bad.
And he's massive as well.
Yeah,
Did
you have to carry something?
Yeah, I think I had to help him.
Carry him.
Yeah,
Wouldn't fancy carrying him.
It took about 8 here.
The big lump, like so. We'd always find a way out. No matter what, we'd always find a way to get till 3 o'clock in the morning.
I think if you're Mick McCarthy as well, a little bit. I know you're probably thinking, it's disrespectful to the manager, but a little bit. You're just expecting. You're not really that bothered. He can't be bothered. He's done all that.
No, we had managers later on, didn't we, who definitely didn't want us to go out and they wouldn't have expected it.
But we've spoken, haven't we, and said how it's evolved, doesn't it? Like we're pretty unanimous that we believe like that team spirit, having a night out, a tour. Because obviously the era, especially me and Sam, it was all that. It was like team camaraderie and that, but. It's like you say, Mick McCarthy, I would expect him to be like that, and it's brilliant that the lads sent a text and showed their faces, and he probably knew you were going out the fire exit.
We'd be on the bus, mate, and the back of us like, super Mick, super Mick.
Turn to his assistant and go, I think the lads have had a beer.
But he'd be disappointed. He'd probably thinking, what happened if the lads break the queue? I'd be disappointed if the lads don't break the queue. Young lads.
I reckon he knew you were going out the fire exit. But what we're saying is there, like you say, as managers came in, you're saying that they weren't overly keen, and then we have the podcast with Connor Cody, and Connor's like, obviously it can't happen. Like the levels that they go into now, it's.
I suppose it is different. I think more the fact they're going to get caught in there now because everyone's got a camera phone.
I think that's the biggest problem that they're worried about, how it looks for everyone else.
I think Kenny didn't like it. Kenny didn't like it at all. Kenny was just anti it, but I think that was maybe because he came when the kind of Roger Johnson thing happened, and
the club was in a bad place, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't in a great place.
What was the Roger Johnson thing?
I think he'd went out on a night out, but I think I don't know if the days got mixed up. I think it got blew out of. I think it was more. It got blew out of proportion. I think so. I don't think the way he got told it happened. It actually happened. I think he did come in.
No, it was when we got relegated from the Premier League, wasn't it? We were going for a bad time, and Terry Connor had just taken the job, and Roger had been out. But I think he trained or something. He got winded being out somehow, but. And he got blown, but everyone
Paul
thought...
Merson commented on it, didn't he, on Soccer Saturday, and said something like, I know people, like, you shouldn't be doing it. Then someone said, I know Paul, people might say, Merson, you used to do it, but Merson went, but that was a better player than him, or something like that. There was some comment on Soccer Saturday.
Yeah, it just, for some reason, it got out and the fans were already pissed off, and this kind of tipped it over the edge.
It was something that wasn't good, but I don't think it was as bad as what it kind of got made out. And Rog wasn't particularly liked, was he, by the fans and probably inside the club by a lot of people.
He's a bit of a difficult character, though, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I really like Roger. I get on with Roger really well. He's just different, man. He's different. Kind of came. I think him coming in and taking the captaincy of Carl, which was
Carl Henry.
Probably
sort of got everyone's back up a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it weren't a good start to the season.
Because things like that, when you're winning games, you get away with things like that, don't you? You get away with, you've been caught on a night out, got in at 12 or whatever. But when like you say, when the club's not in a good place, those things are just like escalated, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think, and then you kind of got Rog, who's kind of come on a big price tag, and see down south, so you're all a little bit cockier anyway.
Know what you mean? Know what you mean?
And I think maybe people couldn't really gel to him really, and I think at the time ruffled a few feathers and around the club, and maybe the fans maybe expected more at the time. He'll tell you himself, he probably didn't play as great with football at Wolves, and this didn't go well, and I think that's kind of where it's not his fault that we went down, but just the dynamics of the change room just started to change, and we started to lose games, and things just weren't kind of working, and then we were just in a bit of a bad place really, and then Kenny took charge really, and although it seemed radical, some of the things he'd done, he kind of probably was right in the end, because we ended up just sort of storming the league and probably brought a bit of belief and kind of brought the fans kind of back on side to us.
I remember Kenny Jackett, he came in we'll touch on your loans in a second, Carl, but he came in that following season after a double relegation and changed the club from top to bottom, got rid of loads of players, some a little bit. It was unfortunate, wasn't it? But he was just trying to get
and stuff,
just trying to get the wage bill down.
Like,
me and Keems are safe because we
Tino's compared to the lads.
So the people who went on a lot of money.
I remember one of his first meetings. He said, "I'm going to make a challenge to you boys," and everyone's kind of listening. He goes, "Can you boys not touch alcohol till you're 45?" And everyone just looked at each other like, what the hell's he on about? And everyone's kind of just nodding like, he says, alcohol can do no good. Do not touch it till you're... And 45 was such a random number, wasn't it? Thinking as if everyone was going to play that. But he had that mentality, didn't he, that this was his big chance of Wolves. Nothing was going to get in the way.
Yeah.
Banned any sort of nights out, anything like that. It was strict, wasn't it?
I remember him saying, you need to be like a monk.
Yeah.
And I was thinking... Fucking hell, I'm definitely not that.
I
tried my best like that. Maybe it lasted 3 or 4 weeks. As you said, it was his kind of big chance. I think it was a big opportunity for Wolves. I think he'd done well at Millwall, and big opportunity. I think he could see that. He could see a double promotion, and probably weren't too far off from getting it, to be honest. So even though again all managers are different, I did enjoy playing under Kenny. I think we played some really good football at the time, and it was a sort of similar sort of vibe and atmosphere to the sort of our other promotion.
We'll hold that thought. We'll come on to that in a bit.
No one was texting Kenny Jackett and singing, did he want Kenny Jackett on the bus?
I don't even think anyone had Kenny's number.
No. That was the actual dare, wasn't it? The dare was to text him.
Text
Joe I remember Joe Gallen, you'd always try and work Joe, and Joe was wicked as well.
Kenny's assistant.
Great guy Joe is, and then you'd always try and sort of fill Kenny out through Joe, and he just kind of says,
it's not happening.
You're on a losing one.
So you went on some massive clubs, Carl. What was your favourite that you went on loan?
I think the best 2 times I had was QPR and Middlesbrough.
It was my QPR manager at the time then?
We had, Paul Hart signed me, but I never played for him. And then we had Mick Alford.
Yeah,
Mick Alford, and
tough bloke him.
Gav's a big QPR fan.
Yeah, tough bloke, man. Good guy, man. Good
Take
guy.
No nonsense.
And in the space of 3 months.
Wow.
That's a right little mix, that, isn't it? That's some big characters there as well. How'd you find
Rousey was Rousey, the goalkeeper coach at the time, I really enjoyed playing for. It was like the sort of Italian era, so I had Eccleston and but there was all the chefs were Italian, so the food was 10 out of 10. We'd gone from like eating Eric's dry chicken to like sort of sea bass with olive oil, and like all
getting beat 2-0 at home, and you're like, brilliant, can't wait to get to the restaurant.
Yeah, these fresh pastas and stuff like that after training. So it was a good experience, man. I really enjoyed it. It's a great club, QPR is.
Correct.
Really enjoyed playing for him, and some sort of good people around the club. The club was a bit of a mess at the time.
Yeah.
And we're kind of losing, and kind of Eccleston coming into the change room, and he'd be like saying, sort of being to the lads, talking about the gaffer, saying, "He ain't got a fucking clue." And then you're like,
what chance have you got there?
Yeah. But we had like players like Adel Tarat.
Oh, what a
player! What a footballer! But
just difficult to play with.
He's got to be one of the best you've ever played with.
It's unbelievable. Like, done things really arrogant. Cocky.
But you want to kill him, but if he scores a winner, you're like, I'm going to smash his face in after the game.
Could
he
take
scores the winner
and put it top corner. Yeah. But it was I don't think anyone got hold of him really. He kind of, just because he was that good, he kind of got let to do what he wanted. Yeah. And I think as soon as someone got hold of him, I think then QPR went up. It was a difficult time sort of around QPR, but I really enjoyed my stay there. And then Middlesbrough, kind of loved being at Middlesbrough.
Did you live in Middlesbrough?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was just outside Yarm.
Yarm, he lives in Yarm. That's where the football.
It's that posh Middlesbrough, is it?
That's like, well, no one lives in Middlesbrough if you sign for Middlesbrough. When they used to trying to sign Janino and all that, there's all these rumours that they wouldn't take them into Middlesbrough, would they? Because they would never have signed.
Show them around Newcastle.
You show them around Newcastle and Durham and Yarm. You don't take them to Middlesbrough. You go into Middlesbrough, no one's signing. The missus isn't coming to Middlesbrough.
I loved it up there though. I really enjoyed it. I think Tony Mowbray was in charge at the time.
Oh, right, yeah.
You're a good guy, Tony Mowbray.
Yeah,
a lot of good
really
things.
Good guy. Yeah, really good guy. Really good manager as well. We played. I think he's just more interested in possession and stuff like that. So we were flying at the time. I think we were top of the league, or in the top two. Things were going well for me, and I probably got injured again and ended up coming back to Wolves. So, but I really enjoyed my time there.
You did Leicester as well, didn't you? So when you was at Leicester, it wasn't the same owners that are there now?
Yeah,
it is same owners?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I think they've just taken over.
I've heard the most amazing story, like, unfortunately, rest in peace, the main guy is gone now, isn't he? But I've heard the most amazing stories about them being the best owners. As a footballer at a football club, if they're your owners, it is like...
Yeah, like, I wasn't obviously there for long, but it was weird. Leicester didn't kind of go the way I wanted to, and I thought he would, because I actually was staying at home, so I thought, brilliant, I don't need to stay in like a hotel or bed and breakfast, and stay at home and travel. And I kind of remember the first game. I think it was Paulo Sousa. I think he was QPR manager for a little bit as well, maybe Swansea. Yeah. And I remember going in, train Thursday, Friday, felt razor sharp in training, kind of felt like ready to go. I kind of remember going into the change room and looking at the shirts, and then I think it was Logan and he was the other goalkeeper, and then the other players were around there, and I thought, that's a bit weird. Maybe just sits there. Yeah. I didn't think nothing of it. And then kind of got called, you're not playing today. And I'm like, what have I come here for?
Yeah,
like,
what's the point?
I come to play.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to be on the bench, I'd stay at Wolves and watch. And then I ended up playing a few games, and bitty really. Like, and it didn't go as well as I'd hoped really. But yeah, the owners are fantastic though. Like, we went to Thailand in...
Dave did mention that to me off air, but I'm not allowed to talk.
We went to Thailand in I think it was an international break. And
treat like royalty in Thailand.
Yeah, royalty. Yeah. Like, they give you sort of money in the duty free at the airport, but the duty free's got like Gucci and everything in it.
Yeah, like, all the boys buying Rolexes and that.
Like, cleared your room bills and stuff like that. And I remember
money there.
I had a suit. I remember got a suit made in Thailand. It was quite cheap because obviously Thailand's cheap, but they just cleared your suit. Still got the suit. Suit's unbelievable.
Wore it for his wedding.
But they were really good, and I think you could see that they'd take off eventually. I think they just needed to find the sort of right mixture to kind of do it really. But
they were always on they're always going to do something.
Obviously, I wish it kind of went, but I ended up getting injured and sort of having to have shoulder surgery, but it kind of didn't go. It was weird that the one place I thought go really well, because I could actually stay at home.
Yeah, it seems perfect.
Didn't really quite go the way I actually wanted it.
You got another chance then at Wolves coming back, but obviously we touched on before, the club was in a difficult place, so we'd been relegated from the Premier League, but you played quite a bit in the following season, didn't you? Where we got relegated again, but Stolar Solbakken and Dean Saunders.
Yeah.
Obviously good for you that you're playing, but it was tough.
It was strange really, because it's probably my first season of actually feeling like number one at Wolves, like out and out. And actually felt like personally, on a personal level, I was doing really well. But we started off pretty well, and then it kind of deteriorated towards Christmas, and then sort of you could kind of see it leaking inside. Internally, you could see it leaking with Solbakken, even though I think if he stayed, I don't think he would have went down. I don't think we could have drawn games, but I think we could we might have wiped the team out. And then I think any tough game we would have lost.
When did he go, Keems?
I remember Luton away.
January,
January. Was it the FA Cup Luton away? Did you play that game?
No, I was injured at the time.
I remember Kevin Foley's sort of homecoming.
Yeah. Luton legend.
They loved him.
They did love him that day. Because I remember sort of he was in the corner right back, and then I remember he went to clear one, but he looped it back into the box.
One of the best crosses you'll ever see.
He looped it back into our box, and then I think, or something along those lines, give it to Luton, and they've scored. And when you're on the pitch, you just think, this is going to be tough, man, today. Like, you kind of have that feeling.
Luton would have been, League 2 then?
Maybe League 2, yeah.
What's in the it's in the FA Cup?
In the FA Cup, and you kind of, I remember, I think sitting on the bus, and I don't know if he knew on the bus that he was gone.
Yeah, he got sacked straight away, didn't he?
Yeah, and it was tough. I think his training method, I think you could tell he knew he was a good coach, but I think he's more of a European style. Don't think he respected the Championship really at all. He just thought we could kind of play through lines and stuff like that, where kind of sort of said, hold this high line. I remember playing Leeds away, first game. Did you play that game?
Yeah.
Hold the line, and it's just like channel.
Hold the high line, and they're getting in for fun on the side.
He was showing us, he's just come from Copenhagen, and all pre-season he just showed us the same video over and over again when Copenhagen played Barcelona in the Champions League. And it's all like their shape moving nice and compact all around the pitch. Leeds away first game.
Boom in the channel.
I think it's Becky. I think he was just run as well. He was a good player, wasn't he?
And Dino came in though.
Yeah, then Dino come in, but I'd had Dino because Dean was at Stockport.
Dean Saunders.
No, Doncaster, sorry, Dean.
Yeah.
So
he's a good character.
You played under Dean, haven't you?
I played under Dean. He's mentally brilliant, but obsessed, and amazing. People think he's just a joker, but he was obsessed with football. He was so diligent with everything. He's crazy. How did you find him anyway?
Yeah, maybe not as good as you.
I didn't say he was good. I just thought he was crazy.
Do you know I went to Doncaster, but Doncaster was another kind of mess at the time, to be honest, and that was probably one of the most difficult change rooms I've been in, really, because we'd had Elad Diouf and I can't remember a few other players from decent clubs at the time come to Doncaster, but they were coming in on a Friday, training Friday, playing Saturday, and then you never see him during the rest of the week. And Dean kind of had to try and keep them sort of happy to kind of keep them there. But then you could have had sort of John Astor and a few other sort of local lads. And they were obviously getting the ump, rightly so.
Yeah.
So it was a mess at the time, and it was just a bit of a shambles. And I don't know, maybe not entirely Dean's fault, but I just kind of remember being there and just sort of him coming to Wolves and people asking me what it's like, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, we're fucked. But again, it was, I actually really liked Dean as a person, but I just can't, I found it difficult to work with him because it was quite erratic at times, and I'm not an erratic person. I like structure, so it just didn't mix well with my personality. I think some people can go with the flow, and he's funny as anything.
He's funny, but he's emotional, isn't he? In some ways, he's brilliant. He's brilliant, but he would do it with us. We'd get off the bus, and it'd be 11:30 on the Saturday night, and he'd go, right, see you tomorrow, lads, 10:00, and it's you'd be like, what? It's Sunday, isn't it? Then I'd be ringing Holly, going, yeah, cancel lunch tomorrow. I'm training at 10:00, and that. He's
he kind of done that kind of at training as well, so we'd kind of be ready to go out. It might be 10:00, 10:15. I'd been in the gym warming up, and then gets to 10:15, back to walk out meeting. I've gone stiff again in the meeting, and then having to go and train, and it's just sort
some of his meetings were golden though.
Yeah, funny, hilarious, funny. But I suppose it depends on what you like. If you like that structure and you want that organised and you're preparing yourself,
a huge club like Wolves.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's different.
It was a big role for him at the time, wasn't it? That was his moment, wasn't it? I think.
And it's different people, isn't it? It's the egos, and it's the bigger people, isn't it? The better players. It's hard to I was at Wrexham, so it's easier then, isn't it? Because you got younger lads, and it's all a bit different, isn't it? If you're Wolves doing that, lads aren't having it.
Yeah, I think I like the lads liked him. I didn't dislike him. I just didn't like working with him.
Yeah.
They like the same, even though we had a bit of a fallout at the time. I didn't dislike him. I just didn't like working with him. Even just the fact that we remember about to go training at Compton, and then before we were about to go out, we're going to Molyneux. Kind of get to Molyneux. I just started warming up, and training's done. Fucking joking me. I've just started to get warm. I need to train. I got a game tomorrow, and it's just them sort of things that kind of wound me up. And someone who likes structure, if there's any structure to
what was the big fallout then?
Yeah, so another sort of training method was to sort of would play out from the back and we'd make a pass here, make a pass there, then we'd be through because he'd scored 20 goals at Doncaster like that, which kind of didn't work at Wolverhampton.
It's a bit harder to do that.
Yeah. So he I remember sort of saying to him that trying to play out from the back, and I don't think anyone was comfortable doing it, in all honesty.
We're in a bad spot, and when you're asked to play out, and the crowd were ready to turn. As soon as we got out on that pitch, they were ready to. They were waiting for one bad thing, and then they would turn. So imagine.
Are you sitting in that number 4 position at the moment?
No, I'm number 8.
You're gone.
Fullback gets the ball and he can just see number 8. Dave, where are you going?
But there's lads who had to like go and receive the ball in the bottom. Do you know what I mean? It's just.
I remember
nervous.
I remember us playing Leeds at home, and he was always like, if anything happens, it's me. It's on me. I was like, then I remember playing one to Jamie O'Hara. Playing Leeds, and I remember he wrapped one on my left foot, like in my goal, like sort of knee height, and I was dealt with it. Don't need that in the middle of the box. I remember saying to Pat after, "What the fuck is that, man? Like, if something happens there, it's going to be me." Do you know what I mean? I don't want to play that pass. I know it's not on. Yeah. Went to Bristol. Obviously, I'm telling you about these things that kind of happened in the background, so I'm kind of wasn't happy. And at the time, I probably took things personally that was happening in the club as well. I think there's probably a group of us, Edo, that we couldn't just leave the results and then just go back to our families. It just really did affect us.
More,
it really bothered us like that. So I was taking things personally at the club that was going on. And we played Bristol City away. Played the ball into Dave.
Is it home?
Davis. Home, sorry. Home, sorry. Played ball into Dave Davis, and he's hit one back to me. It was like a spinning. Like it was a Shane ball.
Hospital pass, mate. Hospital pass.
And I remember thinking, I was like, he came back to me, I was like, I don't know if to knee this or go over my foot like that or do something I didn't do either, and it kind of just went through me. And obviously pissed off, and I don't go into half time 1-0 down. I don't need to get told about that, do you know what I mean?
You know you've messed it up. Don't say you've made a mistake. I know I've made a mistake.
Yeah, so I come into the change room and then Dean starts having a go at me. I can't remember the exact exchange. I remember throwing my water bottle across at the room towards him, and then kind of having a go at him. Him having to go back, and then sort of really got heated in the change room. Sort of got split apart, maybe for our own best interests.
Lucky for Dean, he's got split up there, because he's not a fighter.
And I remember sort of being that frustrated. We had a tactics board in the change room, and then I just remember just punching the tactics board. But I didn't realise it had a
tactics board is like the so it's like the A board, you know, the ones you flip over, like a flip chart.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise it had a thick metal bar running straight through the middle of it. But I've hit it straight bang in the middle. Like, I couldn't have hit it any better. And so I remember going into the toilet. I was actually crying because I was like really emotional, like, and I was upset, man, like angry, with tears of anger. Yeah. And then sort of after a couple of minutes, kind of settled down, and then my hand was throbbing. And then sort of took my glove off, and then my hand was kind of out here. And then went to put my glove back on to go see the doctor. And I remember going to see the doc, showing him, and he's like, "You need to go straight to hospital. You could be clotted. There's a flow issue there." And I remember leaving the change room. I think someone told my dad that had been kicking off in the change room, so my dad's waiting for me.
ready to kill someone.
No, he was like, "What are you doing, son?" And I was just like, "Fuck off, Dad, I don't need this now." And I have an argument with my dad on the way out as well. And kind of we both went to hospital, both calmed down, and out for 3 months, man. I was just like...
I'll give you my version of that as well.
Love it.
So you're the dress.
So, Stephen Hunt pulled his hamstring after about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. That goal happened. I broke my metatarsal just before half time. So we made 2 subs already. And I'm in the...
This is
half time. So I'm in the treatment room walls, which is like next to the dressing room, but then there's toilets and showers around the back, so you can kind of do a big loop around. And the doctor's treating me, and we hear all this shouting, Keems and Dino going at each other, and you hear a massive shit, what's happened there? Kind of forget about it, all quiet. Doctor's kind of moved my foot around, and I think it's broke, things like that. All of a sudden, Keems walks in from the other side. Doc, can you have a quick look at this one?
Forget half time. Forget this metatarsal.
And mate, you had your hand over your other hand on top of it, and he took your hand away, mate, and you could just see it's just stuck up. And everyone's like, what the fuck have you done, Keems? Yeah. And he's like, I punched the tactics board. And he said, well, that's not hard. He goes, no, I must have caught something. But the doc straight away goes, that's broken, definitely. You can see the bone gone. Wow. And then the poor doc, had to go back into Dino and say, Edo's broke his foot, I think. Hunty's hamstring's done and we need to make another change. He's like, what? He goes, and he's like, Keems has broke his hand, and Dino's what the fuck? Yeah, I don't know who came on for you, but
I can't remember. It might have been Doris.
Yeah, but somehow we won that game 2-1. It was like out of nowhere.
Wow. I remember being in the hospital and then Sylv texted me. I think Sylv scored twice.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, brother, don't worry about it, man. Sorted it.
Boxed it off.
Yeah, boxed it off, man. I was like, yeah, wicked, man. But I've just, it was just difficult because I knew I had to go back in.
Yeah.
And face kind of Dean.
Yeah.
So we'd not spoke. Obviously, he didn't call me after the game, and obviously I weren't going to call him or anything like that as well. So, but I don't know if I had surgery the next day or the day after, and then told me to have a few days off, and that's coming to Wolves. And I remember going in. I thought he's going to fine me now. I ain't getting fined. So I'm ready to go in.
Ready to go again. With your hand.
Pumped up.
But he didn't, man. He was sound. He was just
scared.
We had a conversation. Yeah, we had a conversation. He kind of, I think he, in a weird way, I don't condone it. I always learn after that, but I think he knew I cared, and I think everyone kind of knew that I cared around me, even like the fans. Like it was a bit frustrating, but I think in a weird way, I think they kind of loved me for it at the same time, because they said that I was actually bothered about what was going on at the time, and having a conversation. And he didn't fire me, thank God, because this didn't want to have another argument about it. And I kind of remember I had a bit of time off, and we went down in the end. I think we got on the way, to be honest. Man. I remember Sylv broke his leg at Blues, and then that was just done then.
Yeah.
I think Sylv was our only sort of glimmer of hope, because he caught fire.
Started scoring goals.
He caught fire, and got a few results here and there. As soon as he got injured, we were kind of done. Kind of come towards the end of the season, and to be honest, unfortunately for Dean, if Dean didn't go, I knew I was going, so I was kind of grateful that he did go in the end, and fresh start kind of came.
As you got older then, Carl, so you become a bit of a leader in the group then. You're not a young lad anymore. How was that then? How did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy being a leader?
It was good, man. We had some good characters. We had, obviously, Edo. Me and Edo got on really well. Steers as well, was another great lad, and Danny Bath. Danny Bath was young, but he was an older head, so we kind of had a good sort of small group of us who kind of really kind of get out of the change room and sort of took pride in what was going on in what people didn't see really, and kind of had a big influence on things that needed to change within the club, and sort of attitudes. If training wasn't going right, have a discussion within the change room if needed. If some of the young players weren't pulling their weight, we'd have the discussion, and
you'd start managing.
We'd manage it within the change room really. Great time, really. Great time.
And this is the 13-14 League One season where you broke through, Keems. So like Sam just said there, you know, you break through, you now become a man away from a graduate. Kenny Jackett comes in, Joe Gallen. You know, like you say, you're now being a part of like almost like a senior leadership team within the players.
Yeah, it was good. We ended up getting promoted, which actually seemed, if you look back, it looks like we just romped it, but it weren't that easy, was it?
We had adversities, didn't we?
Yeah.
First half of the season.
Yeah, it was a tough season, really, and kind of we're playing good football. We had some good lads like Pricey as well came through. I think that was Pricey's breakthrough. Yeah, Kev Mack came through and he was brilliant that season. Dicko came, Bennett the year after, possibly.
Yeah, James Emery.
James Henry, another great lad. We chucked him in the pond in Cork. Yeah, we had some really good lads, some good players as well. Just started to play good football. Even the year we went up into Championship, we were playing really good football in Championship, and still think to this day, if we made the playoffs, I think we would have went up because we just had the momentum. But yeah, it was a good time under Kenny. He's got his own tendencies, and he's a bit strange at times. Not in a bad way. I really like Kenny, but he has his methods in football, and he's very kind of OCD with everything. He's very strict, by the book. It's this way.
It was a good fit at the time, though, wasn't it?
But really good, yeah. Needed at Wolves, and he was just kind of start of the turnaround. Kenny was, and really, I look back and it's probably some of the sort of best times playing. Really,
yeah, definitely.
I think a little bit older as well, so you don't feel the pressure as much. And you kind of was at an age where we were kind of reading a lot, weren't we? Remember school all of us started. I don't know if you was reading before that. You was probably reading before that. I never really was much of a reader, but all sort of starting to sort of talk about things and sort of starting to mature and
good culture
find a better way. Better way just in life, spiritually and everything like that. I remember us sort of all going a kind of journey, like doing yoga and that. So we were all at a different age, and it was all kind of trying to pass that experience on to the change room. So it was just a good time in the career.
Good if you've got ex-senior players like that in your dressing room, though, isn't it? You know, trying to do the right things and trying to improve themselves. Brilliant, that is. Fair play.
It's a far cry from what you were saying about the Paul Inces of this world and Alex Rays. You know, they're not doing yoga, are they, and reading books. So, like you say, football evolves, doesn't it? And you mature, and like you say, that.
I think me and Carl spoke about it a lot. I think we felt a huge responsibility, didn't we? Because the club had been through so much shit and the dressing room was so bad, and then all of a sudden we were still young lads, but we had no older. I was one of the oldest. Sam Ricketts came in, but after that I was 27, 28, and I was one of the oldest. Keeps was a year below me. Yeah. And all of a sudden we're the senior people in the dressing room, and with that come a lot of responsibility. But I think we loved it, didn't we?
Yeah,
huge,
definitely.
Yeah, big football club, and we're kind of the guys who need to sort out.
Turn into men as well, then, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we all had different sort of levels of experience, different sort of ways around us. I think Edo was someone who was not quiet, as in not quite quiet like he'd always talk to everyone, but not as loud as the other lads. And if something needed to say something, he'd need to say it. And he was like, very experienced, played a lot of games for Wales, and just sort of someone. If you look at what Edo's doing every day, if you're a younger lad, you've got to copy that because he's a leading example of what a pro is. And I think a lot of us just kind of were being good pros and sort of expecting the same from the younger lads, really. And when they didn't do it, one of us would let them know that they need to do more.
That's not the standards we expect at Wolves. Great culture.
Well, a little bit here, we're getting emotional.
So you got Walter Zenger in. So you must have been buzzing as a keeper. As a keeper, you must be thinking, "Fucking hell, I've got a keeper who's going to stand right." Because I know what managers.
I don't think it's like that, you know. Sort of when you get a goalkeeper as a manager, you kind of end up thinking, is he going to compare me to him? Because he was a legend, wasn't he?
You're not as good as me. You go, no shit, Walter.
Don't dive like that. Dive like this, and it's just like sort of thinking.
He changed the colour of your tops.
Did he?
Do you remember? You boys all trained in red because he wanted the goalkeepers in different colours.
Yeah, he used to do that. Yeah,
I met for the kit man.
It's weird.
The red tops of the keepers.
It was strange. Makes sense, though. Yeah, it does make sense. It was strange, but I didn't mind him. You know,
I liked he was such a nice guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, good guy. Like, and it was just
lovely guy.
It's a different culture to kind of what we was used to. Because say we came from Mick. Well, for me, like Dave Jones, Mick, Kenny. Yeah. Them sort of managers, weren't it? Where sort of all come in like Italian, like Andrea.
Wanted to hug you all the time.
Yeah, Andrea sort of come in with the finest Italian suit you've ever seen in your life.
Look the bollocks.
Dave, when you spoke about how he came down when he signed, did he come down in that clobber?
Half time, mate. Linen shirt on, mate. On buttons.
All the lads just like that. You look amazing.
Don't know what he's going to be like as a manager, but I love him.
Yeah, Rosemary's like. Cigarette, like smoking.
Like these little tiny circle glasses.
Yeah, it was. I like Walter, but I think maybe his schedules killed him really looking at because he sort of every day.
It's a European thing, wasn't it?
Every day, but
I think it's all the time.
It is an Italian thing. I think sort of when I went away with Nigeria and stuff, we had a few lads that were playing in Italy, and they were not in camps for months.
Carl, tell us about representing Nigeria. How did that come about?
So I was. I remember. I think it was Wednesday. We were off. Pretty sure it was Wednesday, and I think I had a voice message, and the guy. It was Sunday, Lisa, but the guy was sort of left a voice message saying, asking what if I was interested in playing for Nigeria. I did get called up, I think, when I was 20 or 21.
How were you eligible to play for Nigeria?
My dad's from Nigeria, so my dad came over to Nigeria when he was 17, I think. So I've got a lot of Nigerian family kind of in London. So I got called up when I was 20 or 21, but I was injured at the time, so I couldn't go up in 30 votes just in anyone who was Nigerian in England, and then just called them up. I think there's about 50 people in the squad, but I couldn't go at that point. And then kind of remember being off on a Wednesday, had a voicemail from Sunday Elise sort of talking about if he was interested in playing for Nigeria, etc., etc. I thought that's a bit strange. I think is someone trying to take the piss or something. And then I remember a phone call from Pat Mountain saying we've had Nigeria on the phone, asking if you would want to play for him. I was like, yeah, definitely, yeah. And I give Sunday a call back, and I think he was feeling out whether I actually had any affiliation with Nigeria or if I was just doing it career-wise, and kind of after speaking to him and kind of him understanding that, yeah, I've been visited Nigeria quite a few times and as close to my family. He sort of said, oh, well, I'll think about whether I pick you or not. And then I think it was a week later, kind of got called to the squad. I remember going, Vincent Anyema was number one at the minute. He was a great keeper, probably Nigeria's best ever goalkeeper, but maybe one of Africa's best ever goalkeepers. So I was sort of thinking, it was going to be difficult to play, but I might get a game in the up-and-coming friendly after Tanzania. I think something happened with Vincent. I think his mother passed away, unfortunately. And then I ended up starting against my first camp and starting against Tanzania. I think I remember us drawing 0-0 and it going really well, and it was roasting so hot. So hot, man.
Who's in that squad then? Because I mean, they're pulling people from all over the world, and
yeah, it was Kocha. So that's way before my time.
Kocha's 72
John Obi Mikel.
Obi Mikel, yeah. John Obi Mikel.
I think of another old school one now.
William Chooster Kong is at Watford now, and Diddy came into the squad.
Taribo West.
Bakayoko. Sort of Victor Moses.
So you got some good players then.
Yeah, Igalo. Yeah, we had a good team. Yeah, a really good team. Nazi was at Lazio at the time. Yeah, we had some Simon. Yeah, we had a good squad.
What's team spirit like with that then? Because you got people from like just.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Yeah,
was it good laugh?
Yeah, really, really good guys, man. I think it was good because I was probably 28 at the time, so I was quite comfortable in my own skin. I knew that I wasn't born in Nigeria, but I knew I had a deep affiliation with Nigeria. I'd kind of been there a few times and really close to my Nigerian side of my family, sort of here and in the States. So it wasn't like a complete culture shock because I've already witnessed the culture, but it was just kind of different because obviously there's a sort of lot of different tribes and different religions as well. So we'd say prayers before every training session, but one would be a Muslim prayer, a Christian prayer, and all different sort of faiths and stuff, faiths within the same nationality. And the lads are great, man. Like they'd have a prayer room before the game, so on a Friday everyone would go into the room sort of singing, dancing, like a prayer sort of song on a Friday night, completely different to what goes on.
It's amazing because even different, saying like completely different culture, but even different religions within that as well, isn't it? People who are passionate about their religion, which you don't get anything like that, do you? In the same way, do you?
Different religions and everything here, but it's an important thing in Nigeria and kind of take it very seriously. So on the way to the game, everyone's singing. So sort of a lot of prayer songs as well, sort of singing on the way to the game. So I remember being on the coach knowing that I'm playing my first game for Nigeria, and obviously it's
usually have your headphones on trying to get in the zone.
Exactly, yeah. It's a big footballing nation, do you know what I mean? So obviously there's a little bit nervous sort of going on, and then kind of everyone just starts singing, and like it's just sort of think, well, these don't look very nervous, do you know what I mean? So how can I be? And it kind of is. It was a good way to kind of settle any nerves really going into the game, because you just so they're showing no fear really, and it was really a sort of different experience. But I kind of loved every minute of it, and I think that's my only regret of playing football. I'm kind of at peace with it now. It took a little bit of time, but I didn't play anymore for Nigeria. Just qualified. I started the qualifying campaign for the World Cup, and I just knew we were going. We had like Mikel, Ndidi, Iheanacho, Igalo, Iwobi, Victor Moses, Ikong, Chooster Kong, Balogun, who's just at Rangers now. We had a good team, and I just knew we were going through. And then I kind of remember playing the first game. I don't know if I got injured at Blackburn, so I might have missed the following game, but I knew we were going. And then kind of unfortunately got ill, and that then kind of didn't have the chance. So that was my only kind of regret in football, that I didn't get to go to like a major tournament with Nigeria really.
That would have been amazing.
So you had a year of Fosun in charge, didn't you? And you felt something was happening at Wolves, and obviously, like you say, you'd sort of broken into the Nigerian squad, and going into pre-season you got some sort of bad news. It's obviously going to change your life.
Yeah, so kind of Fosun took over. I think they took over maybe the year before, and sort of started putting a bit of money into the club. I remember Walter Zenga coming in, and it didn't quite work out, but I kind of did enjoy the time underwater. And then I think Paul Lambert come in, and I really love playing for Paul. Like he's a proper he's a man's man.
Yeah, really, I spoke highly about Paul Lambert. I loved him. I did.
Training methods are really good. On the pitch, really good. Like I felt like you could go and talk to Paul, you can go and sit in his office, and actually I could actually say what I actually wanted to say and not have to think about what thinking, oh, well, I can't quite say that, or whatever. You could be a man with him, and really love playing for Paul. And Paul got sacked, so kind of going into the season, I got injured at Fulham away. That was my kind of last game for Wolves, and then kind of I was getting fit, and then Paul got sacked, and I was kind of going in that start of the season, sort of thinking, what's going on here? Like, we've already had 2 managers this season, and I wasn't too sure what the process. I knew that they had money, and I knew that they wanted to go places, but
they hadn't really spent it wisely that first season, had they? Apart from Helder Costa.
But then Nuno kind of came. I think Nuno took over, and then sort of started seeing a few changes even within the first 2 weeks, and you're sort of thinking, yeah, this. I think I was probably only there a week, but you could see kind of what they were trying to implement. And I remember sort of getting back training. We had blood tests at the start of the season. You have blood tests every year. Yeah. And the doctor, my platelets were quite low, which is a kind of blood clot, it's a clotting factor. Doctor kind of said to me, your platelets are quite low, but we'll repeat the test. So I carried on training, and I didn't feel bad in training, but I just felt like something was missing. I don't know if I was probably 30, 31. I don't know if I felt like my power was gone a little bit, or I thought maybe I just kind of excused it as an age thing, and I'd been injured. I remember doing another session, doing a gym session, and my nose just started bleeding. And normally I wouldn't tell the doctor because I know that he might pull me out of training, but for some reason I did tell him this time. I said, I've just got back to the change room, my nose just started bleeding. I don't know why. And then he said, well, I'll repeat the test again. Repeat the test, the same results. So we're going to have to go and see a consultant in Birmingham. So I went to see Manos. He was a blood specialist at the hospital, and he sort of really naffed these things. So he's like, HIV, other things, cancer, blah, blah, and you're kind of listening, sort of fearing the worst, but thinking, no, this ain't me. Yeah. But it's weird. I knew something wasn't quite right with me, though. I don't know why. I never thought it was anything major. I kind of thought that maybe I'd kind of, do you know them sort of illnesses that I think Darren Fletcher had like an illness for a couple of months. I can't remember what it was called.
Spleen, wasn't it?
I thought there is something not with me. Maybe I'm going to be out for a month or two, or maybe I won't be able to play. And the doctor kind of said, "Oh well, you can't train because if you get a serious collision, like your blood won't clot. So just have a few days off." And I remember being in home base buying paint because we were having some work done at the house. Then I remember the doctor getting a phone call off the doctor, and I don't think he actually. I can't remember him actually saying that you've got cancer. But I remember him starting to talk about Stan Petrov, and then as soon as he said that, he just said, "Oh no, it's going to be a tough time for you and your family." And then obviously I knew I had cancer. Obviously bursted into tears in the car park, and then kind of had to get myself back home and obviously tell Saba. But Saba's
your partner, isn't she?
Yeah, Saba's my wife, and she's 9 months pregnant, due to give birth next week. So I remember telling her, and then I've never seen her cry. She's wailing like it's bad, and then it was just tough, man. And I was like, I've got to tell my mum and dad, and I just didn't know how to tell them. Do you know what I mean? So it was a tough day, tough couple of days. Getting that news, I didn't really know too much about cancer. I knew people that had it. I'd never had someone in my family who kind of went through it close hands. So obviously I'm sort of thinking that I'm done. Do you know what I mean? And obviously with the circumstance, I had Mila. She was 4 at the time, I think, and you sort of looking at her, thinking, don't know if I'm going to see you grow up. And it was just a tough moment. Them first few day or two, sort of not sleeping and didn't have any answers really to what was going to happen. I remember going to, I had a meeting with my consultant Manos, and he was trying to explain the treatment and stuff like that. And I remember him saying, I said, like, what's the chances? And then he was like, you got 30% survival, 30% survival ratio. And I was like, but I was happy when he said it, because I thought I didn't think I had a chance. So as soon as he said 30%, I was like, buzzing. I'll take the 30%. I'll just try and work on that 30%. And sort of after that day, I kind of sort of got my head around it, and then just thought, I'm gonna just that 30% is in my head. I'm just going to, whatever I can do to try and improve that 30% and get into that 30%, I'll do whatever I need to do. Don't care what pain I need to go through. But I just sort of concentrated on that sort of 30% and ended up moving to Manchester to get treated. Maya was born while I was in Manchester, so I missed the birth of Maya, and kind of just everything just kind of turned upside down within a space of a few days, a week or so in training.
You couldn't see that you couldn't be there for the birth?
No, because I had an option to delay treatment a little bit, but when you kind of know that you're not well, you don't want to. I didn't want to wait because I just didn't know how aggressive it would be. So,
and Saba was quite insistent as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, for me to start
the treatment immediately.
Yeah, for me to go. So I think just I was in kind of a war kind of mentality really, and I just wanted to get started. It kind of meant me going away to go and get treated, and kind of I just wanted to just get on with it now.
It's hard, isn't it? Because obviously it's hard for any of us to comment, because obviously it's somewhere that we've never been and hope that we never have to go there. But the first thing that springs to mind was like you latch onto this 30%. And I go back to the start of the podcast a little bit when you said that you realised that you weren't technically as good as these guys, but you knew that you had to be more powerful and stronger, and you lent into that, and that's what sort of achieved your success. I suppose it's that mentality that you picked up from football. Do you think that played a part in your mindset moving forward with the illness?
Definitely. Obviously the treatment and my doctors and the nurses at the hospital had a big place to say in it. Who knows whether my mentality helped or didn't help at all, but I think when you are in sort of football, you kind of go off them sort of 1%, and even if you're going in, I don't know, who's sort of always gone in the gym 45 minutes before, half an hour before training, getting treated by the physios kind of day in, day out. It's just for that extra percent. It's not because you're going to get 10% better, because it's not possible, is it? Yeah. You just for them extra percents, and kind of that's kind of what I worked on, really. Just, well, I know what I can do to kind of possibly help. Kind of looked into sort of herbal remedies and other things, dietary things I could do. I remember kind of when I was really weak, I'd lost a lot of weight, but I was allowed to sort of go out and have some fresh air and stuff like that. So I remember just going for a 20-minute walk around Manchester. I'd just go for a walk. Couldn't probably do too much more than 20-30 minutes, but just go for a walk thinking, this is my fitness, man. I'm fighting it, do you know what I mean? Like I'm doing everything I can to get through this, and if I'm fitter, it's going to help me get through it. So 20-minute walk, I'd just go and do my 20-minute walk. I'd try and do like 5-10 minutes yoga if I could on some days, if I could felt like I could do it, but my energy wasn't always there, and I was in some bad places throughout that sort of year period.
What about the lads? Because I think in the dressing room it's just banter, isn't it? It's superficial. No one really asks how anybody is. How did your teammates and your friends and all that deal with that?
I'm not too sure. Probably Edo would know better than me. Like, and I think
did they reach out to you?
I think everyone reached out to me like that, but I can't remember if I messaged back. I probably did message a lot of them back, but I kind of just shut off from everyone as well, because I just wanted to concentrate on what I was doing. I was getting a lot of phone calls, which I was really grateful for, a lot of messages from fans and friends, and Paul Lambert came to my house to come see me, and Kenny, speaking to Kenny and everyone like that, like I think Walter, like loads of phone calls from people and stuff like that, but a lot of people, Jeff, Jez, all of them.
So the football community rallied around you a little bit.
Came around me and that, but I think it's kind of the impact on the change room. I wasn't there when they got told. I knew they were getting told that day because I spoke to the doc, and I kind of just, we were talking about how we were going to deal with it, but I just said, I just have to tell everyone because I can't go missing. Like, I'm supposed to go missing for a year.
How did that happen then, Dave?
So obviously me and Keems are obviously very close at this point. Yeah. And I remember just before you go out to train at Wolves, there's some benches where you put your boots on and things like that. And this had been a couple of days before, and you had been out, hadn't you, Keem? You'd come back in, and I was like, how can you not train? And you go, oh, the doc just wants me to do a little bit. But I didn't. That was reasonably normal sometimes, not for Keem, but for other people, they wouldn't train all the time. So I didn't dive into asking you why at all or anything like that. And I was just like, yeah, fine. And then you weren't in the next day or the next couple of days. I remember speaking to a few of the lads, where's Keems today? Oh, I just don't think he's very well, or just normal stuff like that. And then we trained, and we were out on the training pitch, and Nuno says we need to have a meeting in the change rooms afterwards. So again, pretty normal in pre-season. We went not for a second did anyone think the news that was coming was going to come. And I remember Nuno started a meeting. We're all in the change rooms, and he said, unfortunately, got some terrible news, but I'm not in a position to explain it. Matt Perry, the doctor's going to come and speak to you. And Matt Perry came in, who's the greatest guy, isn't he? He's such a good person, so knowledgeable. And he came in, and I remember him saying, he mentioned Carl's name straight away, and for whatever reason, straight away, I just put 2 and 2 together in my head, thinking, Carl's not been in. He's speaking about Carl. This is bad. And just the build up of it. And then he said that Carl's been diagnosed with acute leukemia.
Yeah.
And I remember it was difficult because there was lads in the dressing room who had just arrived. There was lads who'd been there for a year or so. And then there was probably 4 or 5 of us who'd been there for 7, 8, 9 years.
On a personal level.
And at personal level, and I remember looking over at Danny Bath, and me and him were both sort of tears, because at this point, like you said, you don't know anything. You don't know the extent of it. And it was tough, and it was such a somber atmosphere in there afterwards. And I remember before I got in the car, I texted up again, just what do you say? Yeah. You know what I mean? It was difficult. You can just kind of show your support, and you don't expect a text back or anything like that. I think you messaged me a couple of days later, it's just saying you're catching up on everything. But I remember ringing my wife straight away and said, this is just about the most awful news. But that's how we found out. But
yeah, I think it's strange. You talk about Matt Perry, like great guy. Sort of sometimes I think about how bad it was for him to deliver that news to me.
Yeah,
for how difficult it must have been, and then sort of for him to do it in the change room. I remember speaking to Danny after. I think Danny came around to my house probably about 4 or 5 days later, and then you could tell he was he was still emotional about it. Do you know what I mean? And as you said, me, Danny, Edo, we were all close. Do you know what I mean? So it was. I kind of felt that they didn't know how to be around me, and I didn't really know how to be around myself, to be honest, at the time. So I kind of knew it was difficult for the lads, and I knew a lot of lads just wanted to reach out, and I was grateful for everyone kind of reaching out. But I kind of knew that I needed it was my own journey now, and I kind of needed just to kind of not speak to too many people, because it was taking energy away from me from doing it. So I think I probably had a few people that I would respond to kind of when I started my treatment, and it was very few. I wouldn't see very many people, and I kind of just kept it at a minimum, really, because I knew that speaking to people all the time is going to take energy away from me, and it's not going to help me fight my battle.
You talked about the 1% a minute ago. I remember going up to see you at the Christie Hospital in Manchester, and you say about giving yourself the best possible chance. My biggest memory there is you walking in, and obviously you weren't in a good place then, but you had an exercise bike next to your bed, which had come from the Wolves training ground. And then you had this fridge with just full of chopped fruit, and you was like, I'm not eating any hospital food. And you say, I'm only eating things which I know are going to help fight this. And you went to every extent, as you would, but you talk about 30%, how do I change that to 50%? And doing those little things.
Yeah, exactly, Yeah, exactly. So I told them to bring the exercise bike up, because I said I could do a few things. I remember it being nice, so I'd go for walks when I could do, and just do kind of little bits of what I actually could. I think especially towards the start, you came to see me at the start, where I had a little bit more energy to do certain things. I remember I went full vegan for the whole year, really. Longer than that, I was probably vegan for about 2-3 years, and I'd have a smoothie in the morning, green smoothie, sort of mainly kale based, and just a kind of little bit of sort of all matcha and all the sort of other herbs in there, and I'd probably have a small bit of berries just to take the edge off the taste. But I was sort of heaving taking it, but I was just like, get it down.
Chlorophyll, isn't it?
Yeah, just get it down me, like, and I'm just going to get it down. Don't care how it tastes. I'll do that once, do that in the morning, do it on the night. So, and I'm thinking I've got my nutrients inside me now, so that I'm giving myself a chance. And it's just small little things like that. We were all of us probably going on a spiritual journey in our little group at the time. I remember reading The Power Now.
Yeah.
Book. Eckhart Tolle.
I'd read that a couple of years before that, and I'd really like in a good place, kind of mentally, really, to kind of deal with it. And it's strange, man. I think sort of being in football kind of helped my mentality. Being fit's kind of helped me, give me a chance to kind of get through it, and all these kind of things helped me through them tough nights because ultimately, like at the start, I felt like my body had let me down, and it wasn't like I could just go to the gym. Every time we got injured, I thought, I'll just go to the gym, I'll get fit, I'll do it.
Your body would be your biggest strength, your physical strength.
It kind of, at the start off, I felt like it let me down, but then my mentality changed, my mindset kind of changed. I was in a good place to kind of deal with the tough nights where you sort of thinking about death, thinking about your kids, thinking what would happen to them, and thinking everything else. And
is that the biggest fear at the time, leaving your kids?
Yeah, leaving my kids. Yeah, I had a newborn. You're sort of thinking about your wife, how she's going to cope without you. Not that she couldn't, but you fear that, and you feel like how will my kids grow up never knowing me? Do you know what I mean? Am I going to? Because I've had plenty of people that I know have unfortunately lost their life and have left kids behind and stuff like that. So you kind of, they are your fears. Sort of remember being, there's always like one night I kind of remember being in the Christie. I can still picture it being in the room, the bed. I can picture what the lights were like at the time. I can remember sort of seeing my own funeral and stuff like that, and then I'd just be like, the mind would kick in. And I had a sort of process at the time to not, if I had a bad thought, just to listen to it and let it pass. And that was kind of my way of dealing with it, of not fighting the thought of what's going on, just recognising that sort of, if I had that thought, saying that, no, it's not going to be you, but just let it ride out. It'd be sweet, and then I'd be back on to sort of thinking more sort of positive and clear and stuff like that. So
the thinker and the watcher.
Yes, definitely that. Yeah, definitely. So I was just kind of watching it happen, and I think it's strange, really. Maybe I was in a way built up for that moment, really, because
you talk about the evolution of yourself. You never want to hear that news, but it's probably better it happened then than maybe 6 or 7 years earlier, when you hadn't got that self-awareness of how to mentally deal with it.
Definitely, yeah. I think having the self-awareness of having the tools to kind of deal with that situation, career-wise, I'd had a career. I when I was going through my treatment, I kind of knew that I had a feeling that I weren't going to play again, because it was just too much had kind of happened in that year. I remember the sort of first 4, I'd lost a lot of weight quickly. Then the first 4 weeks, the treatment wasn't too bad. I was feeling a little bit sick and nauseous, but wasn't too bad. Wasn't well, but wasn't too bad. And I remember the next part of the treatment, it was sort of notorious. It was like, this is going to be a tough period. Sort of on chemotherapy every day. And then I was starting to feel sick then. And then I had sepsis. After that finished, I had sepsis. And I remember I was watching football. I came back home watching football, and I remember thinking, I don't feel well, man. I don't feel well on what I'm not feeling already. And I kind of went to bed. Thought I'd go to bed for a little bit, and then kind of woke up just dripping of sweat, like so hot. I rang the hospital. I said, like, I don't feel well. What do I do? Like, I'm in Birmingham. She's like, just go straight to go to A&E, and then Saba called an ambulance. I remember getting picked up in an ambulance, and then it just got worse, like deteriorated. Like, I remember sort of hallucinating, and remember having to have cameras shoved down my throat to sort of see, I think, to check where the sepsis is. And I remember waking up the one morning and I couldn't see, my eyesight had gone. I was saying to my, I think there was a sign on the toilet and I couldn't read it. It was right in front of me. And I was like, then I remember I was looking at my phone thinking, I said to the nurse, is my phone broke? And she's like, no. I was like, I can't see properly. and then I couldn't see anyone. If you were here, I could make out who you were, but sort of around there, I could see you were there, but my vision was completely blurred, and obviously thinking, is it ever going to come back as well? So that was like a kind of another moment, kind of where I think I was about 3 or 4 months where I couldn't see properly. I remember having to watch sort of things on my laptop and put it right next to my face and sort of reading and stuff like that. I couldn't read things on my phone, things like that. And I remember, I think I spoke to Matt Murray after it, and I just said, mate, I've not been able to see nothing, mate. Like, I've not been able to respond to anyone's messages because I've not been able to see. And all this sort of was a tough period, but at the same time, I didn't mind going through it if the end result was that I was clear.
Yeah, but they're scary moments, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's kind of on top of the cancer. Did you feel at that point my body's given up on me?
No,
Did you maintain that?
Yeah, no, I never thought that. No. I just thought this is what I need to go through. I was just like, it was. I think my eyes were a tough one, because I was just didn't know if it'd come back or not. And sort of just to go to bed one morning, wake up fine, and then wake up in the morning and not being able to sort of see, it's a scary thing, and it really shook me up. But kind of after the initial scare, I was just kind of like, well, if I need to go through this to be clear, then that's fine, I'll go through it.
How long was that sort of stage of chemo and the treatment? When was the point that you started to get positive news, or you started to feel better yourself? Yeah,
so I think I had a tough 8 months, really, like through tough 7 to 8 months with treatment with the sepsis and sort of other incidents that I kind of won't go into, but I had some really tough moments, and I knew I was in remission, but they keep checking you every 2 months or something to make sure it's not come back. And then I remember it got to about February, March, and I'd the way it works with your treatment, if you'll get treated for 4 weeks, you will have a rest until your blood's come back up to you ready to get treated again, and then you'll go again. But sometimes my periods will be long because it takes me long to recover. And then I just remember it starting to move a bit quickly. I remember getting through my treatment. I remember being able to come home a little bit more, and I sort of remember seeing the sort of light at the end of the tunnel, really. And I was ready to come home. I just had enough of being away from home, and it's my daughter's birthday coming up in June the 10th. I was just thinking I want to be home for that. My friend was getting married in August. I wanted to try and make that. So these are just sort of mini goals that I kind of had in my head, to kind of landmarks to kind of get back and sort of get back healthy.
You had an apartment in Manchester as well, didn't you, to save you the hassle of travelling from Manchester to Birmingham all the time? So you really based yourself up there? Yeah,
just stayed up there. My kind of mum came up with me sort of probably 3 or 4 days a week. She stayed at me because I didn't have the energy to cook. I didn't have the energy to do a lot of things at times, and like really weak. And Saba would come up with the kids on the weekend. Then I'd have like a few visitors now and again when I was fine to have visitors, and when my dad would come up on a couple of days as well. So I'd always have kind of someone there if I needed something cooking, or I needed some food or something like that. And I had a sort of good support system around me. But yeah, I just sort of stayed in Manchester, kind of concentrated on what I needed to do.
There's a part in your book, Carl, which is called Why Not Me? So anybody wants to sort of listen to the story again, then it's available in all good bookshops. But there's a bit which really stood out in there for me when you were suffering back in Birmingham, going through some tough times. You needed something fixing at home, didn't you? Do you want to kind of tell us that story a little bit? Yeah, so I think I was back home, and I think my fireplace wasn't working, and I think it was around the sort of colder times, and didn't have the energy to kind of find someone, go through the rigmarole of calling people around. So just kind of, I think it was... You usually got a mate who can do it. Yeah, normally got a mate who can do it, but I just sort of went out direct. Just rang someone, sort of asked them to come out, and they sort of came around, and I think he said he couldn't fix it that day, but he would come back another day. I didn't think he knew who I was or anything like that. He probably got a bit of suspicions, because I think a few people see
me, like my mum carrying things and my missus carrying things for me, and probably think like that's not quite right, but probably don't really make clock on of actually what's going on. And I think he kind of seen that maybe I wasn't well, and he obviously recognised me. And then the next day he came back, and he brought me this boomerang back with a letter. And he'd basically got a boomerang made when he was in, I think he was in Australia. And sort of through the stories saying that like a good boomerang, you'd always come back. And sort of for someone to have travelled, had a boomerang made for himself, through a gift from travelling, and to end up giving it me, it kind of really touched me. And I think his son was a semi-pro footballer at the time, and he's just a good man, like really good man. Like he was saying to his son, like, just go for your dreams. You can always come and do work like I do it, but you might not have the time to do that again. And he's just a sort of lovely guy, and it kind of made me realise there's a lot of good people in the world still, and there's a lot of bad stories, but there's some really good people.
Do you mind? I've got a copy of that letter. Do you mind me reading it so the listeners can hear it? Because I read it and it was, it's quite emotional. So he popped this back the next day, the boomerang, didn't he? And it goes, apologies for not getting the job done yesterday. I needed parts, and in any case, it was a two-man job. I've brought my son to give me a hand with things while I get you back on. His dream is to be a footballer. He's 21 now, and I've advised him to pack in his job and focus on his dream. I am his dad after all. He can spend the rest of his life doing something else if he doesn't make it. If you have any advice to give him at all, it'd be greatly appreciated. And I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to give you a token of my humanity. I spent some time in the Australian outback with the Aborigines and picked, shaped, filed and painted and stamped the boomerang until it became what you now have in your hand. The reason I wanted to give you this is because I made it down under, which is where I feel you might be and where you are at times right now. The real reason I wanted to give this to you, is that we both know what a good boomerang does. It comes back when you throw it. I have a feeling this will happen for you. You must be a strong-minded man to have achieved what you've done so far in your life, and you are currently going through the biggest challenge you've ever had to face. But the mind is the most powerful weapon you have. Use it to your advantage, and like a good boomerang, come right back. Put it somewhere that will remind you of your strength, and when you see it, and as Rocky Balboa once said, I don't hear no bell. Go well, mate. There ain't no fat lady singing in this house.
That's that, isn't it?
What a guy.
Yeah, for someone to just come back and kind of have them words and that, I kind of remember reading it and kind of welling up, man, just sort of thinking, can't believe he's just
took the time to
do that for me, do you know what I mean? And it's just a sort of an incredible sort of push at a tough time kind of in my life as well. And I think just obviously the words in what he'd writ, but I think just his attitude towards his son was just inspiring for me, do you know what I mean? Just thinking, yeah, man, you're just telling him to go and follow his dreams. A lot of people just kind of say, just give it up and don't do it.
One life, haven't you? Follow your dreams. Brilliant.
It is amazing, and it's amazing to see what people can do when the chips are down, and the people that are around you, the communities, and everybody pulling together. It is amazing. That's an amazing story. It's hard to finish that one, isn't it?
Where are you with your health at the moment then? Oh.
Yeah, I feel great, mate. Yeah.
Not vegan anymore.
No, not vegan anymore. No, we still don't have it in the house. So a lot of predominantly my meals are vegetarian, vegan kind of based. But yeah, I feel great. I still train a lot. Do a lot of martial arts now. So that's kind of my new hobby. Yeah, jiu-jitsu. Yeah, so that's kind of my new hobby.
We were going to have a little roll around with him on the grass.
I was any coming. I thought it was big enough.
Yeah, I might leave that.
Yeah, so we're doing.
What about your perspective on life? Though you talk about being spiritual. How has that affected you? The way you look at things, the way you live your life now, day to day.
I think I was just grateful, and that's why I probably don't miss football. Really, I think I was just grateful to kind of come out of the situation that I'd been in. I'd grateful to kind of live the life that I'd lived to before. And just sort of grateful for the sort of smaller things in life now. I don't want for the sort of feeling that football brought. I'm grateful for that.
You don't crave money in the fast car.
We're never that sort of people anyway. To in the first place, really. So kind of it didn't really apply to us. So yeah, I think I'm just kind of truly grateful and kind of have moments really where I sort of pinch myself really and just think, oh, it's amazing, and life's amazing. I don't really. I said I live quite a simple life now, and I quite like that. I just
find happiness in that.
Yeah, I find happiness in simplicity, really, and I think I always there's still things that I can kind of achieve outside of my football career, and I'm still relatively younger in life, so I kind of want to sort of put my effort into my kids, my family, my own hobbies and my own interests, because I still have them, and try to sort of achieve things outside of football, but not with an obsession that I was when I was playing. Really, I always kind of spent a lot of time away from my kids. I always want to kind of be there for their big moments in life now, and not to be away and miss them, and try to create a life where we're all happy, and a sort of household where we're all happy. So I think perspective on a lot on things I think they've always been pretty good, to be honest. I don't like in general, but they're just a lot better. We're sort of talking about people moaning in change rooms and that, sort of don't really moan too much now. I still have my moments and stuff like that, but there's times where I just think, sometimes look back and think, kind of look what you've gone through, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, just grateful to sort of be breathing fresh air.
You've been back on the grass recently, haven't you, as well, with Wolves? I've seen on YouTube and things like that. Was that emotional? Was it fun? Was it?
Do you know what? I didn't know I was training, to be honest. I went in sort of thinking I was doing a bit of coaching, and then Tony Roberts was like, "Oh, well, this is what we're doing today." And I was like, "Me?" And he was like, "Yeah, we were doing it," and that, and it was fun, mate. You know, I actually felt pretty sharp for something. Actually, not doing for 5 years. I could probably do a job somewhere, maybe, but to be fair, after about 40 minutes, my body really started to take its toll, and I think it was all right with the straighter stuff. But then when it kind of went into doing a bit of moving around the goal and shooting,
how are your knees?
Yeah, that's when I was nervous then, I thought something's going to go, so the knees weren't great.
The main image of Carl at Compton Training Ground was 2 bags of ice on his knees.
It's not, I'm known for that, so it's it was fun experience. It was fun seeing the other goalkeepers like John and Jose and a few of the younger lads as well, sort of watching how they worked, and it was just good to be around. I just like being around the club, going to see like lads and staff and stuff like that, but I don't want for it back. I don't miss it. I just sort of kind of got there and just thought it was fun, but you're not in the right condition to play.
I mean, Carl, that's an amazing story, that, and inspirational. That is so powerful to listen to, and the listeners, I'm sure, will absolutely love that. What we do with every guest that we have on, we have to, in the end, we have to get them to pick a 5-a-side team with the best players they have played with.
I should have pre-warned you about this, but
it's going to be
so you've got to pick your best players who have to start in goal. So that's going to be tough, because you have got some of your mates there. Who are you picking for your best goalkeeper that you played with?
This is a tough one, man. I didn't know I'd have to do it.
On the spot,
bear in mind, I'll be tagging in on Twitter the ones who you don't pick.
I'm going to have to go Hennessy, I think I have to go Hennessy, yeah.
Tag Matt Murray in that Twitter.
I think Matt was brilliant, but unfortunately his career kind of got quite short, and I think I was watching Wayne. I watched a bit of the Wales game. He was Ukraine, and he was brilliant, and then it's just sort of...
Longevity for Wayne, isn't it?
Longevity, and do you know, it was weird, man. I was sort of proud of him, do you know what I mean, in a way, and like proud of what he's actually achieved in his career, because he's had a great career, and to kind of go on to play as many games for Wales and in the Premier League, he's been good for a long time. So I'd probably have to pick Wayne. What's the formation?
You can go two defenders, but no one don't bother with 2 defenders, because defenders tend to penny, aren't they? Well, 1 defender, 2 midfielders forward. You can do whatever you want. Who's the best defender you played with?
Just do Wolves. Stick with Wolves.
Anyone you played with?
For a 5-a-side. 5-a-side, I'm going to have to pick Kevin Foley, I think.
Everyone goes strategic, don't they? Everyone goes 5-0s.
Absolute bounce pass, and he falls.
He got the bounce pass necessary for a 5-a-side. It was tough to beat as well. There's not enough room for him to outpace it, for him to get outpaced.
So he's decent. He's at the back. Who you got midfield then? 2 midfielders. 2 best
midfielder.
This could be awkward.
Yeah, that's good.
If I get in ahead of Adulterapt, I know he's putting it on, mate.
I'll just have to.
If Tarat had your attitude, Dave, he'd be the greatest football ever.
It would be Ronaldo.
I think I'm going to have to go. Sorry, Dave, but Mikel, Joe Noble, Mikel, and
I like that one.
You can take that, Dave. You can take that.
And Diddy.
I
think them two were
rock solid.
And I think I remember Ndidi's first game for us, and that he dropped Obi Mikel. Elise dropped for Obi Mikel for Ndidi, and I was thinking, that's a big call.
Big call.
I'm not too sure about that. I don't even know this young kid is. Then he's brilliant, man. He's like megsing people. You wouldn't think it's his first international game. He's like megsing people, like chipping it over people's head. He got bollocked at half time for taking a piss.
Mikel, you're not getting back in, you, John.
He does he's carried on with his studies and stuff, hasn't he, as well, at Leicester. He was at university in Leicester.
Engineering degree or something.
Has he?
Yeah, so
fair play.
He was brilliant. I think having to seen him play more for the Nigerian team. Kind of think he went to Belgium and kind of went to Leicester, and he's been brilliant in Leicester as well. So I'd have to pick them two.
Striker left.
Striker. It's difficult, ain't it, man? But
Silva will be spewing if you don't.
It's got to be Silva, ain't it, man? He's too. Do you know? I think I'm gonna pick Silva. I think we had some really good strikers at Wolves, and Nigeria had Iheanacho, who was fantastic. But I'm just gonna pick Silva. I sort of remember just having I think it was a 3 year period where he was just on fire, and anything kind of in around the box, you kind of knew that he was pointing it away. And I remember having battles in training with him. We used to have battles together, trying to him.
He was good on.
Best.
He was good on a Saturday, but in a 5-0 he was deadly, wasn't he?
Yeah,
obviously he didn't have to run the channels in the 5-0.
Exactly.
So
he had the energy to do it.
He would pin you, roll you, and bam,
you're done. If you get pinned, you're done.
Yeah, sort of no sort of backlift with his foot, just ping it. It's just, when someone strikes through the ball perfectly, there's not many people. There's been good strikers who finished goals, but you sort of, when you get that sort of strike out, they're just different.
It wasn't finesse, was it? It was just power.
Power, and a clean hit. I remember kind of Lee Griffiths being a little bit the same to us. I remember sort of seeing him, not the same mould as Thingy, but just the finishing style of Lee was quite similar, like sort of low back grift, and just really struck the ball true every time that he struck it. So I'm gonna have to go with my mate Sylv for multiple reasons.
Nice. Dave, you might sneak on the bench there for 7 subs now. Is 7 subs these days?
You need some legs on the 5-a-side pitch.
7 subs these days.
Good in the changing room.
Yeah, good in the changing room.
Well, what a story, Carl. I mean, for me personally, totally inspiration, but a total inspiration. I know the lads all think the same. Just totally blown away by not only obviously you've come through the illness, and that's like a huge inspiration. That's the obvious one, but your career as well. Like, totally taken tonight about the fact that you've looked at other people's skill set and thought, right, well, I'm gonna. Sam talks a lot about your super strengths. And you looked at your super strengths and just superseded other people because of it. So, yeah, for me, mate, I'll be taking a lot away with that.
Class, brilliant.
Class, Carl.
Thank you so much.
It's been enjoyable, man, and good to see you again, Edo, and it's nice to meet you guys as well, man.
So you can find us on...
Yep, you can email us at inthestiffs@gmail.com, and we're on all social media platforms at inthestiffs. At inthestiffs. Not twice, yeah.
You can email us at inthestiffs.
Inthestiffs, something to do with inthestiffs. At inthestiffs.
The sunshine on your eyes. You're all over the place.
To work on that.
The @ sign with inthestiffs.
It's good still for us, even though it's like Series 2, it's good still to be a little bit raw, isn't it? And make mistakes like that, isn't it?
Good job.
You can be too polished, can't you? I always worry about being too polished.
That's why I do it. I do it purposely, just to make sure we don't look.
That's why I always worry about being too good looking. I think it's going to be. You know what I mean?
I can see where you're coming from.
Right, brilliant. Thank you so much, Carl. Amazing, inspirational. Thank you very much, everybody. I know, listeners, you will have absolutely loved that and taken a lot from it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
In the Stiffs with Budging Motors. Budging Motors are on Stafford Park in Telford and Featherbed Lane in Shrewsbury. For all your car needs, contact Budging now.